fake chaos theory guarantees that we'll play like lightning shots, sounding like thunder. For every time in the face that it hits us, we're faster. Well, they should know by now. They see the world keeps trying to shake us. It only waits us. The pendulum swings. The pendulum swings. It's in a beautiful darkness. Only another. It's full steam ahead. Full steam ahead. All about the Betty Express. Misdirected from the start. It's a runaway train. I come a freight train. I come a freight train. In a beautiful darkness, the Betty Express. In a beautiful darkness.
Hey, you guys, it's Mo, and we have, well, another Mom-ster to roast the ever-living snot out of and, go over her trial and bring a little bit more awareness and whatever we can call justice in this day and age to her victim, her son, Timothy, which makes this crime all the more gross. And thank you, Wolfram, for all of your Modly Mod duties. I appreciate them so much. I have some really, really great mods who help me out because I am computer tech illiterate. Welcome, Dan and Unbalanced Equation, Tammy Fayette, and everyone who's lurking. If you're looking, we have a really great chat. I am over on the green, machine if you don't really like YouTube. So I did find this trial, all of it, on a local news channel, and it looks like the opening statements are fairly short. So we will be trying to watch a lot of day one, since it's about 2 hours long, according to the coverage that I have here. That being said, Shanda is still in her Land O'Lakes butterware for some reason. Maybe she's, in the jail. She helps churn the butters for meal. I don't know. Again, if you are accused of being a monster, maybe a severe hairdo is not a good way to go. But I think even if she had the full Farrah flip, it wouldn't have made a difference. But optically, I think these are things that lawyers are going to have to start thinking about as more trials become media events. And good to see you, Spinster. Now, I do have the closed captions on, and, I have the sound boosted, so let's cross our fingers this is going to work.
Not let bias, prejudice, or public opinion influence your decision. Each of us may be aware of some of other biases.
The judge is
and
just
opinions that may have
finishing
been
reading the sort of jury instructions before any trial, before the opening statements start. There are, instructions that the judge will give the jury on, how we're supposed to interpret evidence, how we're not supposed to, weigh, or how we are allowed to weigh one person's testimony greater than another's if we don't find, testimony credible, how you're supposed to examine the evidence and, put your own weight behind it. So this is quite common in every case.
It's always a key. As I indicated before, it's not rude. You can't see something.
Now, I will say, before this man gets to the podium, wait until he cross-examines Shanda. This is one of the best, state attorneys, prosecutors that I have seen. Now, he isn't, disrespectful. He has a couple where the judge is like, we don't listen to the statements that attorneys have made. But for the most part, he shows the disdain and, total reading for filth of Shanda that everyone in the general viewing public needed at that moment. And he does it with, good questions and mostly no snark.
You want the TV angle?
No, not for
yet.
No, thank you.
Good enough.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, on behalf of the people of the state of Michigan, I want to thank you for your time and attention to these matters. We certainly had some lighthearted moments yesterday during the jury selection process, and there's nothing wrong with that. But as Mr. Johnson and I repeatedly told you yesterday, and this is not in any way an overstatement of this, the facts and circumstances here are just simply horrific. I wish that I could spare you from some of the details in this case, but I cannot. Quite simply, it is the position of the people of the state of Michigan that Shanda Vander Ark committed the crime of first-degree felony murder when, during the course of physical and mental abuse in the first degree of her child, Timothy Ferguson died. As we referenced many times yesterday, unfortunately, as part of this process, you will see some very graphic photographs, images that will not easily leave your mind. But I don't want you to focus on just those photographs, as I repeatedly told you yesterday. I want you to look at the entire picture here. I will tell you this, the entire picture is just as horrific. The average 15-year-old male weighs 132 pounds and is 68 inches tall. At the time of his death, Timothy Ferguson was right on that average height, 68 inches tall. At the time of his death, Timothy Ferguson weighed 69 pounds.
Screw you, Shanda.
How does this happen? How does a 15-year-old child die as a result of malnutrition? How is a 15-year-old child 63 pounds under the average weight? How is a 15-year-old child in literally the 0 percentile for weight? How? The how of this begins to unfold on July 6th of 2022 when police officers from the Norton Shores Police Department are dispatched to 4788 Marshall Road in Norton Shores. The first officer on scene is there. ProMed's already on scene, and they've already found Timothy Ferguson deceased in the basement level of that home. You're going to see photographs of that home. It's a bi-level home, and Timothy Ferguson is in the basement of that home. By the time the officer arrives, Timothy Ferguson is deceased and has been deceased for some time. It's immediately obvious to ProMed, just as it is to Officer Stefanich, who you will hear from this morning, that Timothy Ferguson is severely malnourished. Now, there's another layer of mystery that is discovered the next day as it relates to the cause of death of Timothy Ferguson. And you will hear from the medical examiner that in addition to the severe malnourishment that caused his death, Timothy Ferguson also showed signs of hypothermia. How does a 15-year-old child...
Now, if you remember, there are some actual biological signs that doctors can find for hyperthermia. They are in your I'm not a doctorologist, all right? So take this with a grain of salt. But they're called Wisniewski spots, and they're little like ulcerous spots that form on your internal organs. They were tried to be brought up in the Karen Reed trial. And there was a little bit of conjecture as to whether the spots in John O'Keefe's stomach were actually Wisniewski spots or something else. So we will be hearing a lot. And I want to say that this prosecutor also does a wonderful job, and we rarely see it in state prosecutors, of playing this case straight, not trying to tug on the heartstrings, which he could completely have done, but to try to be as respectful, but also show the horrors of this case, but not in a graphic, salacious, eye-catching way, in a way that would, emotionally manipulate the jurors, but almost in a way that Daryl Brooks, the state team, presented it, almost to the point where we didn't know a lot of the horror that happened that day if we were just following the trial until the victim impact statements. So I was incredibly impressed with the way he handled this entire case. So I rarely say it, but this is a good state prosecutor in this case.
In Michigan, in July, have hypothermia. The pieces of that puzzle start to unfold as the police investigation does. Officer Stefanich begins to notice, in addition to the shocking image of Timothy Ferguson, deceased, Other things unusual in the home. There's leg cuffs in the basement. There's cameras everywhere. There's hot sauce in the bathroom. Upstairs in the upper level of the home, there's locks on the refrigerator and the freezer. More cameras, motion sensors, alarms, everywhere in the house. And in the basement, as if part of some demented version of Harry Potter, there's a small closet, again with an alarm on the door. Inside that closet, a blue tarp just laying on the floor in a small box. That room, as officers later come to learn, is called the small room. That was Timothy Ferguson's bedroom. That's where he was forced.
Let that sink in. This boy had a Harry Potter hovel with not a bed, not an air mattress, a tarp, and not a pillow, not, a blanket, a box. The levels of evil to which this woman sunk make me wish that allegedly in Minecraft, there was a hypothetical situation where she would have met Lori Vallow and Chad Dorkbell and they would have labeled her dark. I'm just saying. I think, she could be dark.
To sleep. The leg cuffs, also for Timothy Ferguson. The cameras, also for Timothy Ferguson. To watch his every movement. His every movement monitored by his mother on those cameras. The bathroom camera. Who puts a camera in a bathroom? The bathroom camera is literally a motion tracking camera, and the officer notices as soon as he walks into the bathroom that the camera starts to follow his motion.
Also, let it sink in. At this point, Shanda is bemoaning the fact that she's now a, single income source mother and she can't afford food. She is late on her rent. Like, she barely has any money, but this heifer spent a good amount of money on motion sensors, video cameras, all these different cameras, different companies. Think about that priorities, mindset that you are willing to, put yourself in increasing debt so that you continue your sadistic, discipline of your son. Ma'am, you are not getting a new trial. You are lucky you're not getting the DP. Okay?
Again, hot sauce in the bathroom. Why is there hot sauce in the bathroom? These are all questions at the time the police officers have, but they have no explanation for most of it. All they know is that Timothy Ferguson died as a result of malnutrition. As is obvious to anybody that would just see him, look at him. So Officer Stefanich starts to ask some questions. And Ms. Vander Ark says, well, he's been on a hunger strike for the last couple of weeks. He hasn't been eating. And I noticed last night he wasn't eating really good, so I made him some toast with some peanut butter, or some butter on it, and I made him eat it, and then he went to bed. And then more detectives become involved in the investigation. And more statements coming out from Ms. Vander Ark about some of the unusual things in the home. The leg cuffs. Oh, those are Paul Ferguson. Paul Ferguson is the older boy that lives in the house. He's 19 at the time. And you're going to hear from Paul Ferguson. And I'm just going to tell you right now, you're not going to like Paul Ferguson. I don't like Paul Ferguson. Paul Ferguson was a contributing factor to the death of his brother. What you will come to learn is that what Paul Ferguson was the strong arm for the defendant. When she wanted a punishment inflicted upon Timothy, she used Paul to do it. And Paul did it.
And we will be going into Paul's interrogations at some point, maybe Saturday, because she thoroughly was his source of authority. You'll hear him say, like, Mama is a good woman. She was just trying to be a good mama. He was thoroughly focused on, attaining her approval, to the point that, while he might have, in passing thought, hey, this might not be good, he was so eager for her approval. He did everything. Now, that doesn't take away or excuse any of his actions, but he was incredibly vulnerable to Shanda, withholding affection. He's an odd duck. Like, I don't know what his clinical diagnoses are. They don't excuse what he did. They do help to explain why he was vulnerable to this, but he still had his own free will. When Shanda said, put him in a cold ice bath for 8 hours, he could have said no. So while I have some sympathy for Paul, it's not a sympathy that negates the evil that he did.
And he will tell you that he did those things. And he will tell you he is remorseful about those things, as he should be. Because the mental and physical abuse that those two individuals inflicted upon Timothy Ferguson over the course of multiple months, from February of 2022 until the time of his death in July, caused his death. For all intents and purposes, Timothy Ferguson was a prisoner in his own home. He never went to a doctor. He never went to school. The only time he was allowed to leave the house was if he was being punished and he had to run up and down the stairs in the backyard where nobody could see him, or walk the dog in the backyard, again, where nobody could see him. And you don't have to take my word for it. You will hear in the text messages between Paul Ferguson and Shanda Vander Ark the extent of the horrors they inflicted upon Timothy. You will hear about his every moment, every movement being monitored by motion sensors and alarms on his body, multiple alarms on his body. Cameras watching his every move, making sure he did not go upstairs without permission, making sure he did not go to the bathroom without permission. And when he went to the bathroom, he got 1 minute if he had to pee and 2 minutes if he had to poop.
That's the part, I mean, look, I get being a little bit type A, but this is again just a punishment, just an exercise in control. Shanda, I don't know what went wrong with you as a child, but you inflicted it on your children to a monstrous degree. Every parent, every person has a choice when they become a parent. No matter what BS you went through as a child, you can work your damnedest to stop generational curses, or you can fall into them. But it's a choice, in my opinion. And, you might not get away from the entire generational curse, but you can take it down. You can block 99% of what you experienced or you didn't like in your childhood. But no.
Some of you might already be saying to yourself, this sounds too incredible to be true. Again, you don't have to take my word for it. You will hear the text messages. You will see right there in print, right there before your very eyes, everything that I'm telling you. His access to food denied. Locks on the freezer. Locks on the refrigerator. Alarm on the pantry door. Alarms on the door to the small room where he was forced to sleep. Now, interestingly, when we talk about that alarm on the small room, you're going to see the photographs of that alarm. When the police are there the first day, they take photographs of the scene. And as the investigation progresses, they go back the next day. Strangely, that alarm has been removed.
Sir, we respect all levels of petty. And that face right there is a bullshit face. So welcome to the Order of the Petty Express, where snark is rewarded.
The police get the text messages and start to go through the text messages, and a broader picture begins to emerge of what happened to Timothy especially in those final hours leading up to his death, in the early morning hours of July 6th. And what they find is just as shocking as the fact that Timothy died as a result of malnutrition. For roughly the last 9 hours that Timothy Ferguson was alive, he was in an ice bath. First monitored by Paul, and then by Shanda, Timothy Ferguson was forced to lay in an ice bath for 9 hours. Already.
Now, I want you to imagine if you are a history buff, I am, Mr. Mo kind of lucked out or got a bad deal because I'd rather watch, any World War II documentary than the Hallmark Channel. But if you have seen some of the severely emaciated people after they liberated Dachau or Birkenau, that is what Timothy looked like. So to put someone with zero body fat, where his body is now eating his connective tissues, his muscles, his ligaments in order to survive, your body will cannibalize yourself when you get to that state of malnutrition. And to put him in a cold bath is beyond evil, twisted, and torturous. And for 8 hours is deadly. It just is.
Severely malnourished, already bone thin, forced to be in this bathtub. Again, first monitored by Paul, watched by Shanda.
I'm so sorry,
from those
Michelle. I'm
cameras,
glad she survived.
and then by her when Paul goes to work. Timothy is too weak to even move on his own volition at that point. That's where the hypothermia comes into play. The medical examiner, puzzled at first, how can there possibly be hypothermia in a child of 15 years old at this time of year? Well, when you spend 9 hours in an ice bathtub, that's what happens. You'll see the ice maker in the home, where the ice came from for his ice baths. And again, you don't have to take my word for it. You're going to hear it all in the text messages. And Ms. Vander Ark, again, when she talks to the police, she says, well, he's just been on a hunger strike for the last 2 weeks. And I just did.
2 weeks. You're telling me as a mother, which I know you're not, you're an incubator, so I'm not even going to say, but a normal mother, your child, your already noticeably thin child, is purposefully not eating, and you do nothing for 2 weeks? Tell me you're not a good mom without telling me you're not a good mom.
I didn't know how bad it was getting until last night, and I made him a piece of toast. That's not true. And again, you don't have to take my word for it. On July 13th, almost 3 weeks before Timothy Ferguson passes away, Paul, in a moment of clarity, in a moment of sympathy for his brother, sees his brother without his shirt on and sends his mother a picture. Now, he's already rake thin at that point. Nothing more than skin and bones. And I submit to you, ladies and gentlemen, that any rational human being looking at that photograph would say, oh my God, we have got to do something to help this child. What's Miss Vander Ark's response? Okay, give him some bread. A couple days after that, we learn what the hot sauce is for. Make sure you give him the bread with the hot sauce on it. Make sure he eats 4 slices of bread with hot sauce on it, and if he does that and waits 30 minutes, he can have some more slices without hot sauce. This is a child who is already essentially on death's door with his malnutrition. And his mother, the person responsible for his care and custody and well-being, is telling her other son to feed him hot sauce. This isn't the only reference to hot sauce. You're going to hear multiple references to it throughout those text messages. At one point, Timothy commits the horrendous crime of eating the crust of a burger. Leftover pieces of a burger. And when she finds out, what does she tell Paul Ferguson to do? Go make him throw up. Sadly, Paul does that.
All right. Well, Shanda, it's early in the stream, but I have someone who's been dying to meet you. So, uh, without introductions, the best part of the justice system for now.
They're our skin, they steal our grace. These monsters wear a human face. No gavel, no badge, no throne, no crown can stop lordship from burning them down. Justice ain't fast, justice ain't clean. It's a long, sharp road through the in-between. So raise your fists and light your flames. Chippy's coming and he don't play games.
Hello back, but we need to get some Chippy here because I really think that she's not gonna really understand any other justice level. But again, the crime of a starving child eating a hamburger that was left behind, discarded. This woman was so high on her own power trip that that's what she wanted to do. I It is beyond comprehension the level of evil, frankly demonic activity here. Like if Lori was to say Shanda was dark, I'd be like, Lori, you have a point. That being said, if I could find a leaky arc to send both of them on, I'm there.
Go make him throw up because he ate the crust of a burger. It's difficult to wrap your mind around the level of depraved indifference shown to Timothy Ferguson. And ladies and gentlemen, that is why I will be asking you to return a verdict of guilty of a count of felony murder in the first degree and first-degree child abuse. The judge has gone over the elements of that crime, and you have them in your jury instructions, and I won't belabor the point here. But the people's position is that Shanda Vander Ark caused the death of Timothy Ferguson as a result of that malnutrition, as a result of her repeated denial of his access to food during the last months of his life. And that during the course of that time period, she was inflicting emotional, mental, and physical abuse upon him with her actions. And again, you're not going to have to take my word for it. You're going to see the text messages. You're going to hear those text messages. This afternoon, I anticipate that Lieutenant Hooksma and Detective Vaughn will be reading those text messages to you, one playing the part of Paul Ferguson, the other reading Ms. Vander Ark's texts. And like I said, they are shocking. They are truly shocking. Paul's testimony will be as equally shocking. And again, you don't have to like Paul Ferguson. I don't like Paul Ferguson. I hold Paul Ferguson responsible for the death of Timothy Ferguson just as I do the defendant in this case. But as we talked about in jury selection, it's not for you to decide what happens with Paul Ferguson. He's already made his choice, and he's agreed to cooperate and testify against his mother. And he will be pleading to a first-degree child abuse charge here. His sentence to be determined by Judge Case at a little later date. You don't have to like him, but I want you to listen to what he says, because everything that he says is going to be corroborated by the physical evidence in this case, especially those text messages. He's going to tell you how Timothy Ferguson was a prisoner in that home. When the officers arrived that day, they didn't realize they were walking into a prison cell, but they were. And the horrors they uncovered are horrors not even inflicted upon prisoners of war who get the protection of the Geneva Convention. Horrors we don't inflict on prisoners here in the United States who get regular meals and access to small freedoms. Timothy had none of that. That's the how of this, ladies and gentlemen. That is the how of how Timothy Ferguson died. Now, the better question, the harder question, that most of you will likely be asking yourselves is why? When I was in college, I discovered a musical group called 10,000 Maniacs. The 1987
Now, I love 10,000 Maniacs. Natalie Merchant, hello, vocal, crush. Not to mention, I love all their songs. That being said, sir, where are we going with this?
7 album, In My Tribe, begins with a song called What's the Matter Here? And it was the first time I remember being aware of socially conscious lyrics for a song. It's a very powerful, very moving song. Natalie Merchant is the lead singer for the group and wrote the song. And the song is about her being a person who's witnessing what she believes to be child abuse, the physical abuse of a child in the building she lives in, and the mental abuse inflicted upon that child by the child's parents. The bridge of the song, after she hears threats made to the child by the father, has these lyrics. Answer me and take your time. What could be the awful crime? He could do at so young an age. If I'm the only witness to your madness, offer me some words to balance out what I see and what I hear. These cold and lowly things that you do, I suppose you do because he belongs to you. And instead of love, you've given him these cuts and sores that don't heal with time or with age. Now, in the song, it's implied that she becomes the person who has the courage to speak up and say what's happening to this child and say, what's the matter here? She can stand up and protect the child. There was nobody that could stand up for Timothy Ferguson. There was nobody that could answer the question, what's the matter here? The defendant made sure that nobody could see Timothy Ferguson. Nobody could see what was being done to him. Can't even produce a picture on her cell phone of him in the last 6 months of his life. I don't know about the rest of you as parents, but you can go 10 photos in my photo stream on my phone without finding a picture of my kids. But nothing.
From birth and
in the 6
pregnancy for
months
some of them.
leading up to his death. What could be the awful crime he had done at so young an age? I can't answer the why for you. I don't have to answer the why for you. You will hear instructions from the judge that I don't have to prove the motive in this case. And I submit to you, ladies and gentlemen, that no why could possibly, as Natalie Merchant says in the song, no why could possibly justify the cold and lowly things done to Timothy Ferguson. All we know is that they were done. And as a result, Timothy Ferguson died without anyone there to speak up for him, without anyone to say, what's the matter here? So, ladies and gentlemen, at the conclusion of these very difficult proofs, I will be asking you to return a verdict of guilty, the charge of first-degree felony murder and first-degree child abuse. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Roberts. Mr. Johnson, do you wish to make an opening statement at this time?
I did.
All right, you may proceed.
Good Lord, I feel bad for this man because what really is he going to say? I mean, like in the Chandler Halderson case, she left digital footprints like Bigfoot going through a pile of snow. I mean, basically, like we didn't even need to find Where's Waldo to find all of her evidence. It was right there. So I do feel bad for this man, but Shizzy is right. If you get a suit, gentlemen, spend the extra money, get the suit tailored so it fits you and it looks nice. As, even when you're defending the Land O'Lakes butter girl, Shanda demonic swamp monster herself. Why does he look like he's been drinking all night and had to come in here?
Yeah. Yes. What he said, I don't have a lot to argue with that. Yup. That's what you're going to hear.
Are you afraid of the damn mic? For the love of all that is unfried Cheetos, use the microphone, you Nimrod. Good Lord in heaven. That's it. Lawyers' phobias of microphones will be treated when I become Empress of the Pettyverse.
All the things you're going to hear those things. Most of that evidence is not going to be controverted. All of it's going to come in almost exactly like he said it's going to come in. And at the end of the day, you're going to say, what's up? Why are we here?
Okay, Steve Urkel, what happened in your life that you became a lawyer and you started defending Shanda? Okay, I feel bad, but he's like if Urkel started hard drinking and went to law school. All right, I will stop. That was mean, but accurate.
We're here, folks. We're here, folks. Because this case is not just terrible. It's weird. It's just strange. It goes into portions of our brains that we hope we don't have. And I say that because I'm a lawyer. I was paying attention to what Mr. Roberts says. One of the things he did talk about was what the statute says. And the judge read you this morning, he's going to read you again. The exact word of the statute for this type of crime is knowing and intentional. All the things that he says that my client did, she has to know and she has to intend for either one of these charges to be filed. And you know, and if you had a recorder and you could hear his whole speech again, there's nothing about that. She knew, she intended. And you're going to be shown. Text messages. About a telephone book of text messages. And they're going to be read to you. Some of the juicier parts are going to be read to you. And I ask you to pay close attention to those text messages. Because when you listen to those text messages and you're paying attention, and understand, these text messages were made and created at a time nobody knew there'd be anybody who'd ever read them. In other words, nobody's trying to fake what they're saying in here because they don't know anybody else is ever going to read them. So this is what they're thinking at the time.
Where in the faintest foggy hell are we going with this? Like they didn't even know that they were doing a crime. Shanda passed the LSTATs with the highest score, I believe, in Michigan. And then I believe she was in the top 10th percentile when she took the bar. So I think she understands what a felony is. I could be wrong. I mean, call me crazy. But I think she understands what felonious behavior is. But let's continue. I'm sure he's going to say, like, they didn't know the text and you can't tell intention through text. It's a bold move, Cotton. Let's see how it works out for him.
This is what's going in there. All the things that are going in there is raw and it's real and it's unedited. It goes right in those text messages. And what you're going to hear over and over again, over and over, as you listen to these messages, is my client, Shanda Vander Ark, and her oldest son, Paul Ferguson, had no idea that they were hurting this boy. If you listen to those messages.
To what now? Okay, wait. No. Where is my whiteboard of truth? Because I need to math equation this out. I am confused beyond all reasoning. So let me, if I get this straight, okay, let me just draw my little picture here. So we got Shanda, little hair. Not going to give her boobs because I don't want to think about her boobs. And we had Paul. Taller, green, stick figure. He is a little guy. So you had two people. Now, Paul was working at Applebee's part-time, I think, as a busboy or prep person, showing that he could, in fact, follow directions, take orders, and, regulate his time management to get to work on time. Now, Shanda was an appellate, or I'm sorry, a clerk for the judge in, I believe, this particular court or this group of courts. So you're telling me between the collective brain power of the brain and Pinky over here, they didn't understand that zero food and, cold baths would hurt someone. They were unable to mathate this. And I say this as a person who has convinced herself that quad pay means I didn't pay, such and such amount for an item. I only paid $25 four times. So I lied to myself consistently and to the government when I put the weight on my driver's license. But that is a contractual thing. The government never expects people to tell the truth, or at least that's what I tell myself. But this man is standing in front of a jury telling them that the systematic, taking away access of food and these corporal punishments that were physical, discipline poses and things like that, stress poses, they were all confused because they're not doctors. I mean, it doesn't take a doctorologist to figure that out. But again, you don't have much of a defense in this case, so I guess you got to get creative.
They don't have a clue. And it's two of them. It's not just the one, not her and just him. At one point, he sends her the picture. At another point, she asks him, is he okay? Do you think we should see me? And each time, the other person deflects and they continue to go on. They don't figure out that they're hurting Tim until he's dead. That's the first time it occurs to them, hey, we got a problem here. And they get mad, and they panic, and they try to make up stories. She's going to tell you, she's going to testify. She's going to tell you what's going on. But as you listen to Paul's testimony, and as you listen to my client's testimony, neither one of them are aware of what's obvious to him and you and him and all the rest of us. We're all going to see it. How could you not see it? But
So are you saying they have empathetic glaucoma? Or myopathy? Are you saying that their empathy is somehow gone? Because I don't know that that's a diagnosis. And being clinically situationally stupid is not, a get out of jail free card. Now, I will say this is particularly irritating because if you watched the hearing with me where Shanda is begging for a new trial because she wasn't competent, her appellate attorney also floated that the leading and chief cause on the medical examiner's report for Timothy's death was dehydration. And Shanda, according to herself, never blocked the access of water, so she should be given a mistrial. Go back and watch it. I lost my mind. But yeah, that is going to be the next gambit I do expect. And or throwing this particular attorney under the bus because Shanda now claims that she did not sign a waiver to not appear on the final day of her trial. So heads up, we will probably see Shanda again in the news, trying this other gambit. But I did want you to be aware that that is something that her appellate team is floating now.
listen to them. They don't. They don't see the suffering. They don't see this. They call what they're doing to him punishments, and they consider it in response to what he's doing. Over and over again. He's not going to win on this one. He's not going to get away with this. He's not going to do this. These are punishments that they feel are reasonable and are not hurting him. I have heard, and I expect Paul to take that stand and to tell you he wishes he could change everything now, and he wishes he could die for his brother now. But at the time he was doing these things, he didn't see a problem with it. In fact, Paul is the one. My client's the one. Paul wants to take it a step further. He wants to start getting physical with this boy.
Now, I will say I am shocked and surprised that they did not try a folie à deux defense. Now, a folie à deux defense is a madness of two. You both get so two people meet and they sort of feed each other's delusion and kind of create a madness of two. That's what folie à deux means. That's probably the only French thing I can actually pronounce because I watch too much true crime. It's what happened in the Slender Man case, where the two girls kind of fed each other's delusions to the point that they were able to commit this heinous crime and think they were going to go away and live with Slender Man. So I am shocked that they didn't try that avenue unless they couldn't find any psychiatrist or psychologist that would validate this. Again, not being a doctorologist, I don't know, or a lawyerologist, I don't know all the steps and procedures that you would need to do to, make that defense, but I am surprised it wasn't at least floated. Now, you are going to notice the defense try to fob off a lot of the sort of mastermind things onto Timothy. However, once you see Timothy, or not Timothy, doggone it, off to Paul, once you see Paul on stand and how meek and subservient he is, it is very clear that he was never the mastermind. He was never the one who kind of thought of all these things and, made sure they were done and deputized him as the strong arm. Now, again, if you're deputized as the strong arm, the person who deputized you is usually the mastermind. But they are going to try to state that Paul was much more the aggressor. He was the one that wanted to take things to the next level, so on and so forth. But as we get into the trial, and again, I'm not telling you what to think. I'm telling you what I observed. You might start to see that Timothy is not the type of personality to take charge, to be the sort of managerial head of any sort of mastermind plan.
It's my client who tells me you're not allowed to do that. These are appropriate punishments. There's no intention. There's no intention to hurt or kill or to abuse this young man. My client will take a stand and find out she's a highly intelligent person. She went to law school. She passed the bar examination. She was in the process of trying to become licensed as this matter began. She graduated cum laude in her high school, college, I think law school, the second person on the list. She was clerking for judges. She was working and studying, and she was this close to achieving lifelong goals.
Well, isn't that amazing that she can multitask? She can torture her son and, be a career woman. You really can have it all, feminists. I mean, I don't mean to tell you how to do your job, but I don't give a flying flapjack if she discovered, anti-gravity. All of her achievements are tainted by the fact that she took her son's life after systematically torturing him. I don't care if she can finish every Sudoku puzzle and, Minesweeper. Again, nothing she's achieved will eclipse the fact that she's a cold-hearted woman who took her son's life. So I know where you're going with this, but I don't think you know where you're going with this.
Then she gets a call from her ex-husband. I'm putting Timothy out, the victim. You want him or he's going to protective services. She takes him in. She takes him in. She takes him in. Send him to me. I don't want my son in the system.
She doesn't want her son in the system because she wants to torture him herself. I mean, doggone it, a lot of bad things happen in foster care, but she wouldn't get to watch them. Sorry. Look, my blood boils. This is probably going to be an off-the-rails stream, not going to lie. There might be a cursey word. So if you have littles around you, I would suggest an earbud. I don't want to teach them a new word, okay?
Send them to me. She brings them to her home, and then the wheels start to fall off in her life. Her husband gets seriously ill. She's now struggling with the expenses of the home and the 3 children and everything else that's going on. She's working, she's going to school, she's doing all these things. She's not sleeping. And something happens with her and Paul. They tend to see things that I can't, and I'm not a doctor. I don't have a doctor coming here to tell you about this stuff. All I have is Exhibit 1 or whatever it's going to be. That's going to tell you these people don't know they're hurting this kid. They love this child. They don't know.
Shanda could not even get through one sentence with Timothy without being derisive, degrading, or snarky. Again, she had the same attitude that Sarah Boone had about Jorge. Every single comment about him, every time she mentioned him, it was derisive, it was derogatory, it was degrading, it was somehow negative. So spare me the mother loved her child and would have saved him from, family services, because she couldn't even get one sentence out where she didn't degrade or, say something bad about Timothy. So spare me, sir. She and Sarah Boone are going to be roommates. Two walk into the cubby hole, one comes out. I don't know. My money's kind of on Shanda, to be real with you. I think Sarah needs to start training.
They don't see it. Whatever's going on between them, they don't see it until it's too late. And that's what happens. There is a terrible situation. Everything he said, you're going to hear that's he didn't lie to you. But there's no intention to hurt this child. They love this child. There's no intention to abuse this child. They love this child. But they just don't see what's before their eyes and what you and I can see. They don't see it. And so they continue on a course which was not only destructive to him, but led to this hearing. They have no interest in doing this personally or in terms of their love to their child. This is something they don't know they're doing. They don't get it.
And the state prosecutor illustrated this fallacy and broke down this straw man argument eloquently by asking Shanda about her dog training business. She had a service dog training business with Great Danes. Sorry, I was like Greyhound, big old Greyhounds, Great Danes. Those dogs were never underweight. Those dogs went to the vet. Those dogs had regular grooming, regular training. So Shanda didn't know how to take care of a kid. She's only had 6 of them, 5 taken away. I mean, who's counting? I am, and I'm petty like that. But those dogs were kept fine. The houseplant that she got for Mother's Day, just fine. She remembered to water it. Her son, somehow she didn't notice he was skin and bones. Apparently, just like her lawyer said, she was confused. She could get all that, high grades on the LSTATs and the bar, but, life skills, not so much. But she was able to navigate having her own business of service dogs. Kind of seems a bit, rich to throw out she didn't know what she was doing.
And poor Tim ends up paying the ultimate price. But this isn't murder. This
Say
is
what
not
now?
murder. This is something's wrong, but it's not murder. And we're going to ask you to find my client not guilty. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you.
Hey, sweetheart, it's in the past, so I'm not going to help you, but maybe don't look like an insufferable cunt while your defense attorney is trying to tell people that you didn't know what you was doing. Like, maybe don't death stare them with your, award-winning resting bitch face. I mean, I'm glad you're kind of behind a pillar, to be honest.
If we have any phones on, I'd ask that
There's something buzzing over here.
Oh, and this is where she's also claiming she's in panic and Twitter-pated and she couldn't breathe and she was all emotional and she lost her competency.
somebody have a phone on or not now? Okay, I'd ask you to either, if they're buzzing and distracting, please shut it off. Certainly put it on vibrate, but if I haven't heard it, but if can somebody identify the source, let me know. So, and those in the gallery, I'd ask you please turn off your cell phones. Thank you, Mr. Roberts. You may Call your first witness.
Thank you. Call Officer Stefanich.
Officer, please raise your right hand. This matter now pending. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
All right, put your hand down and grab a seat. Please state your name for the record, spelling your first name and last name.
Officer Sean Stefanich, first name is S-H-A-W-N, last name is S-T-E-F-A-N-I-C-H.
See, Mr. Roberts.
Thank you. Officer Stefanich, I want to direct your attention back to July 6th of 2022. Were you working in your capacity as an officer for the City of Norton Shores Police Department at that time, sir?
Yes, I was.
And approximately 6:30 that morning on July 6th, were you on duty?
Yes,
And were you dispatched to an address at 4788 Marshall in the City of Norton Shores, County of Muskegon, State of Michigan?
yes.
And what was the nature of the dispatch to that address at that time?
It was assist to medical. We had a report of a 15-year-old that was not breathing, and I was dispatched there.
And I know I say it often, and I know there are bad eggs. I know there are bad eggs in cops and officers that use their, power badly. But for the good officers that have to walk into these scenes, these horrors, I mean, every time they get a call, they don't know what they're walking into, and they have to walk into seeing this young 15-year-old just skin and bones laying on a floor. So, again, I know that not every cop is great. Some abuse their powers. But for the first responders, medics, police officers, firefighters that go in and see these horrible things, I respect it greatly. I am, just in awe that they get up every day and continue to do it. And I hope that as a society, we get better at making sure their mental health is okay and giving them support and, resources to help with the things that they have to see.
To help out.
And did you then go to that location?
Yes,
And were you in full uniform, such as you're dressed today?
yes.
When you arrived, who was actually on the scene?
Both fire and ProMed were already on scene.
All right. And I just need to stop you for just a second. Mr. Johnson and I discussed a matter this morning. There's media present, and it's my understanding that there was a minor child that was present in the home. So you understand, for purposes of testimony today, we're just going to use that minor child's initial to describe his name. I'm not talking about Timothy Ferguson, I'm talking about the minor child who goes by the initial G.
Okay,
You understand?
yes.
Okay. So, I'm sorry, and I cut you off there. I apologize. I just wanted to make sure that we had that taken care of.
I will say there were also, again, the state was very impressive to me how they tried to keep, her youngest son out of the media spotlight, which is a normal procedure. But again, they were very conscientious about this. They were very good at trying to keep, for as much as they could, keeping him out of the trial. Again, like I said, I have been very impressed with the state's performance in this. I have maybe tortured myself with watching at least Shanda's in testimony several times. It helps when you're cleaning and you need to look. I use anger to clean because it motivates me to clean more. So I may or may not have used her to rage deep scrub some bathrooms. Not gonna lie. Shanda, you actually do have a purpose.
So, I think you were describing who was in the home at the time that you arrived. So please continue.
When I arrived, fire personnel were already on scene, and the two ProMed paramedics were already there. I had been, originally when I was going to the call, I was going emergency, but I was notified by dispatch that Timothy had already been declared deceased, so I stopped doing emergency response and just drove there normally. So when I got there, ProMed was there, and they said he's already been declared deceased.
And did they direct you to where Timothy was located in that house?
Yes,
Okay, can you describe the house? We're going to see some photographs in a little bit of the house, but can you describe the house just briefly for the jury, please?
it's pretty much a split level house. What happens is there's a front door. You come in the front door, and then you have steps leading to the right, which go down to the basement, and then you have steps leading up, which go up into the front, normal living area.
So it's a bi-level home?
Yes.
And where was Timothy located then when you arrived in the home?
He was in the basement, on the floor.
Were ProMed personnel still down in the basement around him? or-
Yes, the one pro-med was, Nicholas Mock.
And at some point then, well, I ask it this way. What was the next thing you did in terms of establishing what had taken place after you observed
Well,
Timothy?
first I talked to, the medical personnel, asked them what they did, what they saw, what had happened. And then I asked, the mother, what had happened prior to her calling 911.
And at that time, was the person you've identified as the mother, was she present at the scene?
Yes,
And would you recognize that person if you saw her again?
yes,
Is she in the courtroom right now?
yes.
Could you point her out for the record?
Okay, I really think that in child grossness cases, we should be allowed to say that douche canoe over there or that heifer right there. Adding the C word is optional. I would pick that option.
And identify what she's currently wearing?
She's wearing the, dark blue blazer and ponytails. It's sitting at the defense desk.
I'd ask the record reflect that the witnesses identified the defendant, Your Honor.
They will.
So you had a conversation with the defendant at that point in time, is that correct?
Yes.
Did you actually end up having two conversations with her?
Yeah, I had a couple conversations with her,
So
this is
initially,
hard.
what was the purpose of your first conversation with Ms. Vander Ark?
just to know what happened right there before 911 and kind of establish a timeline of what went happened.
Do you recall what she told you in terms of a timeline of what had taken place?
Yes.
What did she tell you?
She said at 5:30, she was woken up to Timothy falling out of bed. He sleeps in a bunk bed. The top shelf, or the top is the bed, and underneath is a desk.
And did you observe a bed in the basement
Good
area that matched that
point.
description?
Yes.
So she says at 5:30 he falls out.
Now, we are going to find out that this is an entire and complete lie. Now, according to Shanda, and I take her with 27 ramen noodle packets of sodium, Timothy destroyed his bunk bed, so it was not safe for him to sleep on the bunk bed. But it was perfectly safe for a boy with zero body fat to sleep on concrete in a basement with a tarp. Make it make sense.
Of bed.
Correct.
And what does she indicate she does when he falls out of bed?
She checks on him, makes sure he's all right, helps him back up into bed, and then leaves him.
And this is about 5:30.
That's what she told me, 5:30.
And again, the time you were on scene was approximately what?
I got there at 6:48.
So this is about an hour and 15 minutes after she's describing Timothy falling out of bed and her putting him back into bed.
Yes.
Okay, and then what does she indicate took place?
She said about 6:30, she went back downstairs to check on Timothy and saw that he wasn't breathing.
And did she indicate that she attempted to call 911 at that point?
Yes.
And you would agree with me that the 911, your dispatch time was 6:37 that morning, is that correct?
That's
If
the
that's
time
what's in the
that,
report.
yeah, that's the time that they called 911, 6:37. Dispatch told me about the call at 6:38.
So within a minute or so of the 911 call, you're being dispatched as well.
Correct.
Is that standard operating procedure if any of
Yes.
these types?
Yeah,
So police, fire, and medical personnel are all dispatched?
correct.
So 5:30 he falls out of bed, 6:30 she goes down to check on him again, and that's when 911 is called.
Yes.
Right. Now, when you observed Timothy, what observations did you make about him, about his physical person, obviously other than the fact that he was deceased?
He was very malnourished.
And when you say that, what can you describe what it is?
He was
that you
just skin and
observed?
bone. Skin and bone. He didn't have any muscles.
And at some point in time, we'll get into those photographs a little bit later and present those to the jury, but did you have an occasion to observe, well, let me ask this first. How was Timothy dressed when you arrived on the scene?
He had an adult diaper on, and he had a sweatshirt on his torso.
And was he wearing any jeans?
I don't believe so. I think it was, I'm not positive, but I remember the adult diaper and then the sweatshirt because I had to lift the sweatshirt later.
And if he, well, let me just do this for just a moment. These are going to be later presented to the jury judge, but for purposes of refreshing your recollection, if you could just briefly take a look at what will ultimately be People's Exhibit 33. We're not going to show that on any of the TV monitors there.
This is another thing I really respect the state and the judge. I do believe that this was covered in motions in limine, but and the judge will talk about it when he sentences Shanda, but they did a very good job. Again, they could have plastered these photos everywhere, had a big, poster board demonstrative, but in respect and understanding that the jurors did not know what they were signing up for other than, probably in voir dire saying this is going to be a hard case. But the words a hard case don't, prepare you for seeing a person who's been malnourished to the point of death. So I do like that both the judge and the state prosecutor really, took in mind the jury and didn't splash this and ran a straight case.
At that point, do you recall that photograph?
Yes.
All right. And does that refresh your recollection in terms of how Timothy Ferguson was dressed at the time that you found him?
Yeah.
And how was he dressed?
He had jeans on. But as soon as he was declared dead, I pretty much put a sheet over him.
But that picture that you just looked at, that jury will see a little bit later, that does appear to be the condition in which you observed Timothy Ferguson when you arrived on the scene.
Yes.
And during part of that process, did you lift up that sweatshirt and see both his back and front area?
Yes.
And that was documented in photograph?
Yes.
So your initial contact with Ms. Vander Ark was establishing a timeline in terms of what had happened to Timothy, at least that morning. In your subsequent conversations with her, did you get a little bit more information about who was living in the home and what the living situation was?
Yes.
And again, ultimately, for purposes of maintaining some anonymity here, there was a younger child in the home as well, correct?
Correct.
And that younger child's initial begins with G, correct?
Yes.
And he was a
Now, this is the part that really confuses me, and I might dig more into the dynamics of this and watching the body cams and the interrogations. But it has always fascinated me with this case that Shanda's youngest son, her miracle baby with her current, or I guess her former husband, Adam, seems to have escaped a lot of the harmful and, abusive behavior that she visited upon her first 5 children. Now, I don't know what changed in the dynamic, but her youngest son was definitely first priority and escaped any of the issues that she seemed to visit upon her other children. And this was in Michigan. So it's always sort of intrigued me why it is that, her youngest son did not get some of this evil visited upon him. And you can tell that she has an overt preference for this child as compared to Paul or Timothy. So it really is an interesting dynamic, but I'm not a doctorologist, so it's not like I could give you a name as to why it is, but it does intrigue me as to why. But again, the why is just evil. Let's be real.
approximately how old, do you recall?
I think he was around 7.
Did
But
you
I don't know for sure.
Did you actually see him inside the home?
I saw him running around, but I never spoke to him and didn't really get all the concrete information about him.
But were you able to determine that was actually a biological child of Miss Vander Ark?
I believe so. That's what I was told.
And but you did observe that child running around the home, you said, is that
Yes.
right? Did he appear to have any malnourishment issues or issues running around or
No,
moving?
he seemed normal.
And there was actually an older child in the home as well, is that correct?
Correct.
And that's Paul Ferguson.
Yes.
And did you actually observe him in the home as well?
Yes.
And did you observe anything in terms of his physical condition, in terms of concerns of malnourishment or inability to move, anything of that nature?
No.
And ultimately, did Ms. Vander Ark indicate to you that those were, including Timothy, those 3 boys that were in the home were her children?
Yes.
Did you establish approximately when Timothy had come to live with Ms. Vander Ark in Norton Shores?
Yes.
When did that take place?
She told me May of 2021. He had been living with the biological father in Oklahoma, and they're having problems with him or something to that effect, and so she took him in to her home there.
I know I'm a posy-poserton today, but there is a lot of back information if you weren't really, into this case, that I can share. Now, I haven't dug like deep dug, like DEFCON 4 digging into this case, but everywhere I've just casually looked, um, the biological father of Timothy has never made a statement about this case, has never come forward to any media that I've seen. Again, it might be out there. I haven't really dug deeply into this case, but he's never said anything. And it bothers me. It really does that. But perhaps charitably, which is very hard for me, his grief over losing his son is so much that he can't share it with the world or isn't ready. And everyone has the right to, share or not share their grief when they're ready. But you gave okay, here's the problem. I'm trying to give grace, but he gave a woman who lost custody of her children because she was such an evil, thunder cow. He gave him back to her knowing, what would happen, knowing what could happen, and it boggles my mind.
Did you ask her about why Timothy was wearing a diaper?
I did. Just said that he has accidents, so he's wearing a diaper.
And did you ask her about any medication that Timothy had been taking?
Yes, she said that he used to take medication for ADHD, but he stopped taking that because he started feeling better.
Now, Mr. Johnson's already alluded to it as an opening, but at some point did Ms. Vander Ark indicate to you that there had been another person that was living in the house earlier that year, in January of that year?
Yes, her
Who was that
husband.
person? Her husband?
Correct.
And what does she indicate happened with her husband that caused him to no longer be in the home?
He had a stroke, and because of the stroke, he couldn't climb stairs, so he could no longer live there. So he was staying with his parents.
So her husband had left the home sometime after the stroke happened in January. Was that your understanding?
That's what I was told.
And so that left her in the home with the three boys, Paul, Timothy, and G, correct?
According to her, yes.
Did she indicate to you that there had been problems around that time with Timothy not eating?
Yes.
What did she indicate to you happened around the time of the stroke with Timothy not eating?
She said because of the stroke and some other family issues that Timothy had stopped eating for about 3 weeks.
And did she?
Again, Shanda is so alienated from the concept of a, loving mother that she doesn't get that, having a child or claiming a child was on a hunger strike for 3 weeks. Most mothers would take them to the doctor, get a counselor. If it was mental health issues, get some kind of help because they would be absolutely terrified of their child willfully not eating to the point where they might actually, get them inpatient at a hospital so they can help with anything like that. Again, she is so divorced from the concept of what a good, caring mother is that she doesn't get that this is completely out of left field for most parents.
Did she indicate to you that she got him to start eating again?
Yes. She said that she threatened to take him to the hospital, so he started eating again.
So this was taking place, she's indicating to you this was taking place around the time of the stroke happening in January, is that correct?
Correct.
And this was, at least what she was relaying to you, that this was Timothy's response to the stroke was to stop eating.
Yes.
And did she indicate there was another period of time where Timothy had stopped eating?
Yes.
What was that period of time?
She said in the last 2 weeks prior that he had stopped eating.
So
when this medical happened, he had for 2 weeks prior to that he had stopped eating.
So you understood that to mean that she was saying the 2 weeks leading up to his death, Timothy had stopped eating.
Correct.
And
Now, there are situations where a parent might not know that a child is willfully not eating. Unfortunately, teens, both girls and now boys more increasingly, you know, are dealing with eating disorders. Um, and when you are dealing with that, struggling with that, you might hide the fact that you're losing a lot of weight. You might wear baggy clothes because you're not comfortable with your body. Um, things like that. There might be signs that parents miss at first. So I'm not denigrating any parents who are having to deal with that and with their childhood. I'm really roasting Shanda, but I do understand that there are circumstances where children willfully hide what they're doing. So that is not, this rant is not at all directed to that.
Did she indicate to you that she had got him to start eating again just prior to his death?
Yes.
What did she indicate had happened?
She told me that the night before she had given him 2 pieces of toast.
So after you speak to Ms. Vander Ark a few times there and have an observation of Paul, did you conduct an examination of the rest of that basement area of that home?
Yes.
And it said, we've described it a little bit for the jury, but if you could describe a little bit more just the downstairs area, the layout of that downstairs area.
When you go into the basement, there's like a common area. And that's where the bed was for Timothy. They had made a bedroom into the common area. Right next to that common area is a small little closet. And then off of that room is 2 more bedrooms, a bathroom, and a utility room.
And was it relayed to you that the 2 bedrooms belonged to Paul and to the minor child, G?
Yes.
And you said there was a bathroom in the basement as well?
Yes.
And did you observe the bathroom?
Yes.
What happened when you walked into the bathroom?
When I walked in the bathroom, there was a video camera, a motion camera that was sitting on the bathroom counter. As soon as I walked in, it turned towards me. Made me think it's motion activated or he's sensitive.
And then did it track your motion then? Or
Yeah, it followed me as I walked through the bathroom.
What did you observe about the bathroom itself?
Bathroom was very dirty. There was dirty adult diapers on the floor, and there was no shower curtain.
Did you observe anything on the counter of the bathroom that was unusual?
There was a bottle of hot sauce.
And if you recall, were there zip
Oh my-
ties or any type of restraint?
Oh my Lord, he's making my face, my what the F face, what are you trying to sell me face? Officer, we salute the subtle petty.
Located in that bathroom, if you recall?
I don't recall any of that.
As it relates to restraints, though, did you observe any other restraints in the basement area of that home?
Yes,
What did
there
you
were leg shackles in the first common room where Timothy's bed was. There was a drawer. The desk area was really cluttered, and there was like a little stack of drawers, and it was open, and in the drawer was a set of leg shackles.
And what material were those leg shackles made of?
They were regular leg shackles. I checked with my cuff key, and my cuff key was used up. They were normal leg shackles.
These were metallic?
Like we would use, police would use.
And was there any padding on them? Anything that would soften that leg shackle if that was
No.
placed on them individually?
No.
So you said, I think you said there at the end that the shackles that would be used, like the police would use or jail uses for
Yes.
prisoners.
Correct.
What other observations did you make about the basement area?
There's cameras everywhere. There was one camera that was facing Timothy's bed, so his bed would be here, and on the opposite wall, there was a camera facing his bed. In the other room, G's room, there was a camera in his room that was facing the door, like it would, trying to catch people coming, going in. Then there was the camera in the bathroom, and then there was a 4th camera that was underneath Timothy's bed. When it happened, it appears that the camera was like placed down, so it was not recording anything, but it was still electrified and on.
But like the lens portion was facing down, is that what you mean? And that was under Timothy's bed?
Yes,
It
it was laying on top of all the junk that was there.
but just put off to the side under the bed?
Yes.
Now, you talked about a closet area. Could you describe that in a little bit more detail for the jury?
The closet was right next to, it was in between the stairs and Timothy's bedroom. There was a closet there. When we opened it, there really wasn't anything in there except for a tarp and a cardboard box. But there was a sensor that was attached to the wall. And what it is it's one of those sensors that people buy for alarms. So when you open up a door, it would, it would give an audio alarm, but it's not connected to anything. And that was on the closet door and attached to the wall.
Now, based upon all your, well, let's talk about the upstairs area for a little bit. Could you describe that in for some detail for the jury, the upstairs portion of the bylaw?
Upstairs, I really wasn't part of that too much, but there was a common area, kitchen, and then a bathroom and bedroom.
Did you make observations of the common area, the kitchen, or?
Not really, no, because I pretty much stayed in the basement. I was guarding the scene. I was securing the scene, make sure nobody went in and out of there.
And ultimately, was a search warrant obtained for that residence?
Yes.
And you were, and
And again, God bless this man for protecting the scene, for, and covering this young man with a blanket, giving him the dignity that his mother did not, because you will effing rage when you hear what this woman's last words were to her son. Now, we're not going to get there today, which is kind of good because I need to save up my curse passes, because there will be a good 3-minute rant. Well, I will weave a tapestry of curse words to roast this woman into the stratosphere. So I have to save them up.
you were tasked with what at that point?
I helped search the basement.
And you kept the basement area secure from people coming and going?
Yes, made sure nobody came in or out.
All right, and did you observe while you were down there, anybody besides Timothy's body being removed, anything else being removed from the basement area?
No.
Nothing further this time, thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Roberts. Mr. Johnson?
Why does the officer look confused? Like, I don't have anything to help you, sir.
Good morning.
You were dispatched to my client's home, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, and once you arrived, was my client still performing CPR on Timothy?
Not when I was there, no.
Okay, but you have been informed that she had been, in fact, attempting CPR on Timothy at some point, is that correct?
That's what the paramedics told me.
Right, so you...
Oh, you know what, Sarah Boone Jr., I don't give two rats if you tried to, fix what you done after you done it. I mean, I'm not going to give you a participation trophy.
Live on the scene, you're talking to, I've got the video from your chest camera. You arrive at the scene, you're talking to a paramedic, and is that when they tell you, well, when we found him, he's downstairs and she's doing the CPR and that sort of thing?
Yes.
Okay, and I also noticed from that chest cam, as you walk in, she's no longer in the basement, she's sitting on the front porch. Do you remember that?
No.
Okay.
I remember she was in the stair area. There's
Okay.
3 sets of stairs. I know she was in the stair area somewhere.
Okay, well, I'll ask my next question. I've got the video up and running, so I can have you take a look at it if necessary. But let me ask this next question, may not even be necessary. But I'm wondering what my client's demeanor was when you arrived and you spoke to her, as you've testified, correct?
She appeared to be distraught.
Okay. Well, let's make sure. Distraught. What is distraught?
Distraught, emotional.
Okay.
I can't remember if she was crying, but,
No.
she lost her son, so she was, displaying emotions of distress. And
Okay. Would viewing the video allow you to remember whether or not she was crying?
sure,
Okay. I don't even think you need the sound, but I have headphones in case you do.
No, I need to see the tear roll down this heifer's face, because I'm pretty sure that she doesn't have a soul.
May I approach you on?
You may.
And this is, again, you have a chest video camera on your chest? Okay. You have cameras on your chest?
Yes.
Police issue, and it's running during the entire time you're in this room?
Yes.
Okay. May I approach? You said I could, so. Let's see if this works, officer. This is at 12:37, and I'm just gonna run a few seconds so you can see.
Mr. Johnson, can you just aim a little more toward him? It's not an admitted exhibit yet, so I just want to make sure the jury doesn't see it.
Is that enough for your, refresh your recollection?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Your Honor. All right. Given that refreshed recollection, can you remember if my client was crying or not when you saw her?
Yes, she was crying.
Okay. And you mentioned well, never mind, you did, you testified to that. You also mentioned finding leg shackles in the bed.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
All right. Now, as I recall, watching the video and reading your report, you then checked the furniture for scratches.
Correct.
Why? Explain to the jury why you checked the furniture for scratches, please.
I checked to see if the child had been chained to a bed or something like that.
Yes, because if the child had been chained to a bed, you might expect to find, if it's a wooden furniture.
Oh, Land O'Lakes from Satan, Satan's Pantry. Would you like to comment? Swear to God, with that face, Pennywise looks under her bed or his bed to see if she's under there. Yes, absolutely. But I didn't know if you know the rules on the Petty Express, but Chat and I are able to make stupid faces when we're dealing with stupid. Again, it's past you. I would not maybe let my face show what I was thinking if I am an insufferable cunt. Again, if you know what you are, you try to fix it, at least on the outside.
Scratches to where the chain rubbed against the wood. Is that what you're looking for?
That is correct. I'm looking to see if there's the handcuffs are pretty hard,
Okay.
and if they were chained to a bed post or something like that, there should have been, damage to that because of
Metal handcuffs.
correct.
Okay. Did you discover any scratches or any damage that reflected that possibility, or at least in your mind?
No.
I have no further questions.
Okay, redirect.
Just a couple of brief ones. Officer Stefanich, in terms of those handcuffs, you said Mr. Johnson asked you, and you said that you checked the furniture that you could see in terms of seeing if there's any scratch marks on that, and you didn't locate any. Is that correct?
Correct.
You recall what material Timothy's bed was actually made of, though?
It was metal.
You didn't observe any scratches on that, though, did you?
No.
That's all.
Recross, Mr. Johnson.
No, sir, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Officer Stefanich. You can stand down.
Okay, yes, sir.
Thank you. May he be excused, Mr. Roberts? Or?
Yes.
All right. Mr. Johnson, may this witness be excused? Mr. Johnson?
Your Honor, I don't require Officer Stefanich to remain on the premises, but I'd like him to remain on the subpoena in case we need to recall.
Okay.
Thank you. We can do that.
All right. That's fine. So,
I don't like it. I do like to chew gum. Like if I'm not on stream, I usually have a piece of gum in my mouth. I try to be quiet with it because mouth noises are a bugbear for me. I don't like chewing noises. If you ever need to Noriega me out of my, inside cat cave, just put on one of those YouTube videos with the ASMR chewing noises, and I will run screaming for the hills. So that being said, I think it is very inappropriate for her. Again, optically, she is all wrong. You would want to soften her up. You would want her hair to be loose. You would want her to be looking down, helping with notes if she couldn't control her face. You would want her at least to soften. Again, nothing is going to help you in this case, but optically, she looks stern, she looks severe, she looks uncaring, callous, and now deeply, sarcastic, which is fine for me on the Petty Express since I'm not on trial for unaliving my child. but you probably want to refrain from that when you are on trial for unaliving your child.
Ms. Officer Stefanich, I'm assuming, we didn't discuss it, I guess, in specific. The parties agreeing to a sequestration order of witnesses, I'm assuming, Mr. Roberts?
But for my investigating officers, I don't have anybody else here,
Okay,
Judge. So
all right. All right,
It's
so-
effectively a sequestration order.
You don't want him to remain in the courtroom, though, correct?
That's correct, Your Honor.
All right, so Officer Stefanich, you're still under subpoena, so I do not want you to discuss your testimony with anyone else until released from the subpoena. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
All right, you are excused. All right, Mr. Roberts, who's your next witness?
My next witness is Officer Peasky.
Have a great lunch.
That'd be
Half an hour, so if you want to take a break now.
yeah, I think I was going to take a break at 10:30, but this is one of those natural breaks. So at this time, ladies and gentlemen, we will take our morning break.
This is why I like watching. Oh, let's see her yelling at her. God, she is Sarah Boone with braids. It's a horrifying thought.
Recess, Mr. Roberts and Mr. Johnson.
Nothing, Your Honor.
All right, court's in recess.
She's like, I did good. Stop chewing your cud, you stupid cow. She's like, I want you to do this. If I have to talk to the manager of your legal firm because I want you to do this. I mean, at least she didn't go through 8 lawyers like Sarah did. I mean, but now she is throwing one of her lawyers under the bus, saying that he basically forged her signature to allow her to waive her attendance at the final days of her trial because she was, out of body. Yes, she does. She looks like she would launch a kid in pigtails and could throw the hammer toss really well. She's pulling off East German really well. I'm just saying, like early 80s, going to the Olympics for javelin throw. And I will say, I have done jury duty, and in true Mo fashion, the big thing that I was worried about, other than getting a child case, which I thankfully didn't, I got the world's dumbest case. I do have a video on it. In shameless self-promotion and grifting, it is a pretty funny video, and it is the world's dumbest case that I did my jury duty. But I will say it was nerve-wracking. Even though there wasn't any audience there, I kept thinking, like, don't trip and fall on my face. Don't trip and fall on my face. Don't trip and fall on my face. So it does take a little bit to get used to, where you're going to sit and all of that stuff. So just a little bit of a jury perspective. Now, most people probably weren't spazzing out about tripping or falling. But that was my general, thought. It does take a minute to sort of figure out how to do stuff.
Mr. Roberts, you can call your next witness.
Call Officer Ryan Peasky.
All right.
See, and this is a tailored suit. You can tell it's been tailored to fit his body.
Morning, Officer Peasky. Good morning. Please raise your right hand. This matter now pending. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I swear.
All right, you can put your hand down, grab a seat. Please state your name for the record, spelling your first name and last name.
My name is Ryan Peasky. First name is Ryan, R-Y-A-N. Last name Peasky, P-I-E-S-K-E.
Go ahead, Mr. Roberts.
Thank you. Sir, could you state your occupation for the record, please?
I'm a police officer with the Norton Shores Police Department.
And I would like to direct your attention back to July 6th of 2022. Were you working in your capacity as a detective for the Norton Shores Police Department at that time, sir?
Yes, I was.
And on that date, on July 6th of 2022, were you dispatched to an address at 4788 Marshall in the city of Norton Shores, County of Muskegon, state of Michigan?
That is correct.
And what was the nature of the dispatch when you go into that address at the time that you were called?
I was contacted by Detective Sergeant Joel Hooksema requesting that we respond to a suspicious death investigation.
And did you go to that location?
I did, yes.
And when you arrived at the scene, and we've discussed this in the hallway, there's one individual that we are only going to refer to by initial, the initial G, but can you describe, including that person, can you describe who was present at the scene when you arrived?
Approximately,
you know.
Yeah, there was several police officers on scene. There was Miss Vander Ark, there was G, there was Paul Ferguson, and the deceased.
And did you have an occasion then was Timothy Ferguson's body still in the premises at that time?
Yes, it was.
And did you have an occasion to observe his body at that scene at that time?
I did observe his body.
And what observations did you make about his physical person at that point in time, other than the fact that he was deceased?
That he was extremely malnourished. At least it appeared that way. Very skinny. You could see bones protruding from his body. You could see his ribs through his skin.
And did you then observe did you take an opportunity to observe the rest of the residents?
I did, yes.
And so we've already had it described, Officer Stefanich as a bi-level residence, and Timothy Ferguson's body located in the lower level of that residence. Did you have an occasion to observe the rest of the lower level at that time?
At some point during the day, I did observe the rest of the lower level. I don't know exactly where that falls in line with.
But you did at some point observe the lower.
Certainly, yes.
And specifically, did you have an occasion to observe that there were cameras in that residence?
Yes, there were several cameras throughout the lower level of the residence.
And at some point then, did you also observe the upper level of the residence? Again,
I
not
did.
Sequentially, but at some point.
Yes, I did.
Specifically related to the kitchen area, did you make some observations at the kitchen area?
Yeah, in the kitchen area, there were locks on some of the cabinets in the refrigerator, the freezer.
Did that strike you as unusual?
Certainly, yes.
Now, ultimately, did you have an occasion then to conduct an interview with the defendant, Ms. Vander Ark?
I did later on that afternoon, yes.
Now, for the record, could you point out Ms. Vander Ark and identify what she's currently wearing if she's in the courtroom right now?
She's right there sitting in between the defense attorneys. She's wearing a black jacket. It appears, or a dark blue. I can't tell.
Keep your voice up just a little bit if you can. The microphone will amplify, but not too much. So if you can just keep it up, so we need to make sure that all the jurors.
Tammy, you might need to refresh your page or your computer. I wish I had more technical skills to share with you, but that is what I do when things go wrong. Yeah. I mean, honestly, I don't know what she could do that is useful. And I try to think of people, using their skills in redemption, but she doesn't think she did anything wrong. I am going to bet at least 76% that she and her appellate attorney are now going to write a motion stating that the ME put dehydration as the top cause of Timothy's death. Again, this was a gambit that went on in the hearing that I just covered for her trying to get a new trial. I do believe that this is going to be another gambit. She is incredibly unable to see how she is seen in the world, and also what a normal person would make an argument about.
I hear what you're saying. So you did conduct an interview with Ms. Vander Ark at some point in time, is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
And I would ask that the record reflect that this witness has also identified the defendant, Your Honor. Specifically, I want to direct you to portions of that. And at the time that you talked to Ms. Vander Ark, you already had an occasion to observe what you just described in terms of the kitchen area with locks on the freezer and the refrigerator.
Yes, I observed those things prior to speaking with her.
And did you ask her about those?
I did ask her about those.
And did she indicate to you what Timothy's connection was to the locks on the freezer and the refrigerator and any other access to food?
She indicated that those locks were to prevent him from sneaking food or snacking on food that he wasn't supposed to have. That there was a pantry that was open that he had access to, but he did not have a key to those locks.
But specifically, did she indicate that that there was a pantry that did not have any type of lock on it?
Yes.
And did you observe that pantry?
I don't recall the pantry specifically, but...
So as it related to Timothy's access, he did not have access. She indicated to you he did not have access to the refrigerator or to the freezer.
That is correct, yes.
And did you talk to Ms. Vander Ark about the circumstances leading up to Timothy going on any type of hunger strike?
Yeah, she had indicated that he had a hunger strike that he went on in January, starting after January 3rd, that lasted maybe 18 to 19 days. And then an additional hunger strike that started approximately 2 weeks prior to us being at the home.
So, and you're there in July, so she's talking about two separate incidents where he stopped eating, is that right?
That is correct.
The first one occurring in January, the second one occurring leading up to Timothy's death.
Yes.
And the January hunger strike, did you later come to learn that there was we'll call it what it is, a traumatic event where an individual had a stroke and was out of the home at that point in time?
Yeah, at that time, Adam Vanderark had a stroke and could no longer live at the home. So I believe that stroke happened on January 3rd, and this happened shortly thereafter.
So Timothy's first hunger strike, she's indicating to you, took place sometime after January 3rd, after Adam had the stroke.
That is correct, yes.
And is it your understanding that Adam Vander Ark is actually the father of the minor child that we're identifying as G?
That is correct, yes.
But he's not the biological father of Timothy Ferguson or the older child, Paul Ferguson, who was also in the home.
That's also correct, yes.
So she's talking about the hunger strike, talking about the second hunger strike now that she's referring to leading up to Timothy's death. Did she indicate to you at any point in time prior to his death that she realized how serious it was getting and tried to get him to eat?
So she had indicated that not until the night prior to his death, that at that time she realized how bad it was. She had threatened to take him to the ER if he didn't eat, that he ate a piece of toast with some butter on it, or at least she saw him take a few bites of it, and then she walked away, and that he said he was done eating it, and he went downstairs for the night.
And so did she indicate how it was that he went downstairs or what happened when he went downstairs to go to bed for that night?
That he went downstairs on his own, that she had told him good night, but he did not come back upstairs to say good night to her, that she walked down to the bottom of those stairs and said, asked for a hug, and that he had refused to give her a hug at that time.
So this is the night before he is deceased, is that right?
That is correct, yes.
Now, did she indicate to you what happened in the morning when Timothy was discovered?
She indicated that she heard a thud in the night, that it was Timothy falling out of his bunk bed, that it happened sometime in an hour that was ended with a 30, like for example 5:30. She said that she had originally thought it was 5:30, but that she had been told that it couldn't have been 5:30 because Timothy was already deceased at that time. So she then hears this, she goes downstairs to check on him, and finds that he's not breathing.
So initially there was an indication that she believed it was 5:30. I think we've had some testimony from Officer Stefnich to that effect. But based on information that she had received from ProMed, did she then indicate it wasn't 5:30, but it was some point earlier in the evening, or earlier in the morning, I should say, that she went to check on Timothy?
Can I correct myself? I just said that she had found him not breathing. At that time, she didn't, he was, according to her, still breathing at that time.
Right, and
That was a
that's
mistake
kind
I
of
made.
what we were getting at, is that at some point in the night, at some point in the morning, again, at the same mistake, at some point that morning, she checked on him because he had fallen out of bed.
Yes.
And he was responsive at that point in time, is that correct?
That's what she said, yes.
Right, and by the time she was talking to you, the 5:30 had been essentially disproven because of information she'd gotten from ProMed.
Yes.
About how long Timothy had been deceased, but she relayed to you it was some time ending in the 30s.
That is correct, yes.
But he was alive and responsive at that point in time.
Yes, sir.
Right, so then did she then indicate what happened when she discovered him, from essentially the second time then?
Yeah, so then the second time, she had called for him in the morning. She had woke up, got ready for work, called for him. He didn't answer. That she went downstairs to check on him, found him not breathing, that her son Paul helped remove him from the top bunk of the bed onto the floor. And that's when he was found deceased.
And so she's specifically talking about removing him from the top bunk of the bed. Did you observe that bed in the basement area?
I did observe the bed in the basement, yes.
And she indicated that Paul helped her get Timothy off of the bed because he was not responsive at that point in time.
That is correct, yes.
Now she's basically saying that she and Timothy she and Paul, who's not a big man and she's not a big woman, got dead weight off of a top bunk. There is no way. Again, I think I've told this story, but my daughter's friend, and thank you, Atheist Aunt, for the super chat. And y'all, I think this is how AI gets me. But later on this afternoon, God and wigs, notwithstanding, uh, Sarah Sarah Boone has a letter about the latest attorney that's dropped her, and our favorite honor roller is mad. So I will be working on that this afternoon. Again, another shameless plug. I'm trying to be Baker. He does it much better. Oh, for the love of Cheetos. So thank you very much, Atheist Aunt. This woman needs to visit Saint Slow Motion Iron Steamroller. Yes, yes, she does. In fact, that might be a friend and a stinger I can add. Let me remember that, because that sounds like, when I get, big and famous and they make, my irreverent cartoon show of Lord Chippy and his friend Saint Steamroller, it's going to be monetizable. I'm with you. I'm with you.
Did you ever ask her if she had any photographs on her phone of Timothy from January, the time of the stroke, until
Yeah,
then?
I had asked her if she had photographs on her phone. She said that she would have photographs of the other kids, but not of Timothy after that January 3rd date.
But she did have photos of the other boys on her phone.
That's what she said.
She said. Right. Again, by the time you're talking to Ms. Vander Ark that day, you'd already conducted a search or aware of items that were removed from, or seized, or to be seized from that home. Is that correct?
That's correct.
One of those items was some leg shackles that we've had some testimony at from officers from Stefanage. Did you ask Ms. Vander Ark about what the leg shackles were for?
Yeah, she said that she had purchased the leg shackles from her Amazon account. I don't remember if it was a month or several months prior, that they were for her son Paul to use on a TikTok video, and that it didn't involve any use on any human being, but it was for Legos or something along the lines of that.
Okay. But the leg shackles she indicated to you were for...
All right. So I'm trying to do the math here, and usually I can make random connections from things, but shackles and Legos, I don't have TikTok. I mean, maybe that's a popular thing. Maybe there's a whole genre of bondage and Legos. I don't know. That being said, the only thing I could think that leg shackles would be useful in Legos if, like, you were showcasing, I don't know, do they have an Alcatraz set or like a dungeon set? Other than that, I call BS.
Paul
Correct.
for a TikTok video. At that point in time, we were also aware that there was a closet in the basement area that had some type of alarm on it, or some type of sensor on the door indicating if somebody was moving in and out of that closet.
Yes, yep. I asked her about the alarm on the closet. She told me that she had some sewing equipment that was in that closet that she didn't want anybody to have access to.
For sewing equipment.
For sewing equipment.
Yeah, like Ava Braun over there sews. To be creative, to have a, kind of crafty soul, you have to have a soul to begin with. So I'll take things that never happened for 800, Alex. This woman hasn't sewed a thing in her entire life. That's what I'm going to say.
Did you observe any sewing equipment in the basement?
There was sewing equipment in the basement, but it was in the open area of the basement landing, which is where Timothy's bed was also, well, the bunk bed was also.
So the sewing equipment was not in the closet where this alarm was on the door. Again, her statement to you being because the sewing equipment, that's what the alarms were for.
Yeah, the sewing equipment was not in the closet where the alarm was.
He also danced and loved wild horses.
Did you have indication to actually go into that small closet area?
Yes.
And what observations did you make about that closet area?
In that closet area, there was a blue tarp that was laid out on the floor, that it smelled like urine and feces. And that's essentially it.
You already referenced the fact that you observed multiple cameras inside the home. Did you ask Ms. Vander Ark what the purpose of those cameras were?
Yeah, I did ask about the cameras. She indicated that they were for G to watch him because he had been stripping down naked and walking around the home.
So the cameras were for G because he would strip naked and walk around?
Yes.
Did she offer any explanation as to how having a camera would stop somebody from walking around naked?
Not that it would stop, but that she could tell that it was happening so that she could address it.
As part of that, then, did she relate to you, or did you come to understand that those cameras allowed her to communicate through the camera in some fashion?
Yes, she said that she was able to communicate, like two-way communication was actually available through the cameras, or some of the cameras, in which she could talk and also be heard and that she could hear what was happening.
Were you also aware that there had been some hot sauce located in the downstairs bathroom of that residence?
Yes, there was a bottle of hot sauce that was located on the counter, the bathroom counter.
And what did she indicate to you was the purpose of that hot sauce?
She said that it was for food, that Timothy liked spicy food, and that it was used for food.
Did she offer any explanation why it was in the bathroom?
She did not. She said that when she last saw it, it was upstairs.
Now, brace yourself, guys, because as dark as it has been, there's a reason that that hot sauce is in the bathroom. Now, according to the text, and it will be revealed that Shanda floated the idea. I think this is speculation. This is pure speculation. What is not proved in trial? No evidence, no facts and evidence. But Shanda floated the idea of putting this extremely hot special order hot sauce on the private parts of Timothy while he was in the ice bath to make him uncomfortable. Now, I need you to ponder that statement just a little bit. Let's break it down. Timothy is already in an ice bath. He has negative body fat. His body is literally eating his muscles, his ligaments, and stealing calcium from his bones, all to keep his brain going because the brain really protects itself in these kind of situations. So there was a reason the hot sauce was there. Now, again, we only have text messages where Shanda thought about it. But I don't think that there was a cruel thing that Shanda thought about that she didn't do to Timothy. So that's my thought. That's my speculation. You can take it with a ramen noodle packet of salt or more, but that is what I think happened. I don't think there was an evil thing that Shanda thought up, that she dreamed up, that she did not do to this child. I don't think she would have shown restraint at the point that near the end where she, this was her reality show. The judge will say it. This was her favorite, reality show, game, whatever. This is what she found enjoyment in. At least that was the judge's, opinion. And I'm of the same opinion.
Did you, getting back to the shackles for just a moment, did you ask her if she ever used those shackles to restrain Timothy in any way?
Yeah, she indicated that she had not ever used those shackles to restrain Timothy.
Thank you, officer. No further questions.
All right. Mr. Johnson, any cross-examination?
Yes, sir.
All right, you may proceed.
Officer Pierce, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Sir, did you also conduct an interview later with Paul Ferguson?
I did, yes, sir.
Okay, you did an interview with Mr. Ferguson, correct?
That is correct.
And how long after this event did you do your interview? Being at the house at this event, when you were at the house, how
Okay.
long afterwards?
Well, there's two separate interviews that I did with Paul Ferguson. One while we were at the home, and then one the next day at the police department.
I'm talking about, okay, that's the one the next day at the police department. You did an interview with him, took about an hour and 45 minutes, is that correct?
And you're referring specifically to the one at the police department?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I don't recall the amount of time it took, but certainly it was a lengthy interview.
Okay. And and the subject matter of the interview was what's going on at Paul's home, correct?
Correct, yes.
Do you remember during the course of this interview, if at any time do you have to explain the gravity of the situation to Paul? Do you have to explain to him what's wrong here, what's going on here, why this is horrible, why this is terrible? You have to explain those things to Paul?
Not necessarily explain, but we did talk about the magnitude of what was happening.
And why did you do that? Why did you have to explain it to him?
That's a good question. I think
Was it
that
in response to his answers to your previous questions?
Yeah, I think that, that would be a good.
Okay, again, we will be watching Paul's interview/interrogation, and you will notice that Paul is very deferential to his mother. He calls her mama, and he always paints her in the best light. This has been the kind of, I guess, coping mechanism / seeking approval that he used. So mama is never wrong. Mama's just disciplining Timothy. Timothy isn't listening. Mama tried to be nice. It's very creepy, very hard to watch kind of interrogation because there is such a disconnect between Paul's kind of understanding of the world, when he's shown evidence that his mother is not, her choices weren't good. It creates almost a physical pain for him. He cannot process that. When you see Paul testify, you're going to notice that he has odd mannerisms. I don't know his diagnoses. I didn't dig into them, but you can tell that he doesn't perceive the world in a way that maybe everyone else does. There's not anything wrong with that, and it doesn't excuse what he did, but there definitely is a disconnect between what really goes on with the world and what Paul perceives. And the defense is, again, with the only defense they really have, they are trying to go with, it was just discipline and they didn't know what was going to happen. Now, it doesn't work. But that is sort of the angle they're going at. And Paul does provide a good sort of background for this because he really did not understand the gravity of what they did, because in his mind, he'd been processing it as mama's good and Timothy's bad and he doesn't listen. And this is, justified punishment. Again, he doesn't seem to have a concrete or the ability to understand everything that's going on around him. Again, I'm not a doctorologist, and you can make up your own opinions when we get to him.
He seemed to be
It is.
minimizing. Would you say that? Minimizing how big a deal this was? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I certainly think that would be the case.
Would you agree that he seemed to be protecting his mother?
Certainly, I agree with that also.
Okay. And during the course of your interview, did you feel the need during the course of this interview to, for lack of a better term, have a come to Jesus moment with Paul, explaining to him what's going on here, how serious it is?
I did have that conversation with Paul.
Okay. It was tell me if I'm wrong, was it your impression that you needed to do that because he was minimizing what was going on, he was protecting his mom? That was the impression you got, is that correct?
I believe that that's factors, and also factors are that he wasn't, I didn't believe him to be entirely truthful about what we were talking about. But
Okay. No further questions, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Any redirect, Mr. Roberts?
I'm sorry, Judge, no redirect.
All right. Officer, you can stand down. May this witness be excused, Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Your Honor, my apologies. If I may, I've got a couple questions, if I may ask them.
Okay. Any objection, Mr. Roberts? Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Johnson.
Mr. Roberts, do we know which proposal these two are? Yes, sir.
Where are we going with this?
Six.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Also, when was the last time you were in my client's home?
I don't know that date specifically.
A year and a half ago.
That sounds
Okay,
right.
all right. And I ask you that because you, at one point, you were asked a question if the refrigerators and the freezer and the cabinets had security locks on them. Do you remember that question?
I do remember that question.
And,
yes.
and you recall, as I recall, your answer was yes, they did.
I said I wasn't certain about the cabinet, but
That's what I'm getting to. Can I show you photographs and that may refresh your recollection?
certainly.
Okay. I'm showing what's been marked, people's proposals that it's 9 and 6. Can you explain to the jury what those purport to be? Or what do you think that are? What's in those photographs?
So there were,
Are we refreshing this witness's recollection, or are we referring to the exhibits themselves?
We're refreshing his recollection.
Okay, well, typically, because they're not admitted, he can review them himself. Because they're not admitted, unless,
I think we had a stipulation, essentially, the exhibits were already admitted, Judge. So.
okay, my understanding was there was a review of the exhibits, but there wasn't stipulated their admission yet, because Mr. Johnson didn't want to just agree to everything. But I could be wrong, Mr. Johnson. Are you agreeing to the admission of all?
Again, I really like this judge and the state. I mean, they're working together to get this trial going, and this judge, the gatekeeper, is making sure that both sides agree. So if you're new to watching trials, a stipulation is basically both sides agree to either this fact or this statement, so it's not going to be argued upon. And if you have any questions, I'm not a lawyerologist, but I have been watching trials for about 4 years. And if I don't know the answer, I will try to ask one of the lawyers that I know, or I'll tell you I just don't know the answer. But I will say that watching trials is becoming a thing that more people are doing. And don't be afraid if you have a question, if you don't know why things are going the way they are. You know, there really aren't stupid questions. It's guaranteed that someone else is having the same question. So this is a small chat. If you're a lurker, don't be afraid to, come in and ask a question. You will find that I make up words. I butcher the English language worse than anyone, and God rest my grammar teachers.
The people's exhibits at this time?
Yes, Your Honor. We would stipulate to their admission.
Okay, all right
That's
then.
cleared up.
All right, just to make sure. All right, you
I think
proceed.
that'll make it much easier for
And
everyone.
if it helps, I can pull it up on the monitor. We're going to do that anyway with the next one.
I don't need that, I just want to refresh your recollection.
All right, go ahead, Mr.
You know what
Johnson.
those pictures
Thank you.
are? I asked that question. You know what those pictures are? You have any recollection of those pictures?
yeah, these are inside of her home.
Okay, and part of the picture shows some of the cabinets in that home, is that correct?
Yeah, so I'm specifically, I think, referring to a pantry and the refrigerator and the freezer. Does that make
Okay,
sense?
so,
So like, yeah, these cabinets, and then the refrigerator, but there's a pantry, I think that's what the statement was referring to.
okay, so when you said there's a lot, you weren't referring to that cabinetry. Okay. Okay. Maybe I should ask you what you were referring to, that would be kind of novel. When you saw,
Sir, I am trying to be very nice to you
When you-
because you have to deal with Shanda Vander Ark. And you kind of remind me of me talking to myself and kind of giving myself like good duh, like duh moments. That being said, I usually have those conversations inside my head. I'm not telling you how to lawyer, but yeah, maybe asking coherent questions would help.
answer the question, were there locks on the freezer, refrigerator, and cabinets? What were you referring to in terms of the cabinets?
That's a great question. I'm referring to a statement made by her is what am I off based on what I'm talking about?
Okay.
I'm looking at, I asked her about the locks. She says,
All right.
so I'm referring to what her statement was.
And so, having gone through all this whole exercise, The bottom line is, you're not sure about the cabinets, the pantry being locked. Is that what you're saying?
What I can say with certainty is that there are cabinets that were unlocked. The pantry, I don't recall if there was a lock or not on the pantry.
Thank you.
I don't further questions. I do have a follow-up to that.
Yep, go ahead, Mr. Evans.
Officer, Mr. Johnson asked you if you were going off of your observations or what Ms. Vander Ark told you. I want to focus on what she told you about the pantry. Did she make a statement to you that the pantry was unlocked? In other words, there was nothing to restrict access to that pantry?
She did make that statement.
Thanks.
Any follow-up to that, Mr. Johnson?
No, sir.
All right. Now may this witness be excused, Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Johnson, is this witness excused, or would you like him to remain under subpoena?
Your Honor, we are prepared to excuse this witness.
Okay. Thank you, officer. You're excused. All right.
This was one of the detectives that were first on the scene. He conducted a interview with Timothy to try to get to the bottom of what was going on. He also listened to Shanda's kind of first statements and did a walkthrough of the home, noticing, locks on things. So this is one of the detectives that interviewed at least Paul. He didn't say much about Shanda. I do believe he talked to Shanda more kind of in passing, like what happened, instead of a sit-down interview. But I could be wrong, because like I said, I have to be in the mood to roast these heifers. Sometimes I am not in the mood to deal with kiddo trials, but Shanda asking for a new trial just lit a can of bitch fire in my soul. So I want to roast the ever-living Schnell out of her. Like I said, I can be motivated by spite and vengeance, not gonna lie.
Mr. Roberts, you can call your next witness.
My next witness is going to be Lieutenant Hooksma, and I am going to connect to the monitor now.
Okay.
Are we in D or G?
We're in D.
D?
Yep.
I can do
I'm not gonna pause on her face. Move off of her face.
monitor a little bit. So
wanna,
once we connect, I don't.
He's not in yet.
Now, this is important because you will notice that Shanda is interacting with her lawyers and looking at photos. Now, there is going to come a point in this trial where she is going to claim that she had never seen the emaciated photo of her son. However, during pretrial hearings where they were doing motions in limine and all of that, she looked at the ME photos. Now, they have it on video. She didn't ask to see the video to refresh her memory, but she pretended to upchuck. Now, anyone who's dealt with morning sickness 6 times knows that usually when you upchuck, there's that liquidy sound after, or, of things splattering, which is all I'm going to go into. There was nary a splatter. So she pretended to upchuck. And the, Razzie Award goes to Shanda for worst performance of pretending to have a soul.
Okay.
It's connecting right now. It says
Oh, is it? Okay. If you want to angle it, I can probably hook them up. If you want to angle the TV now. The true self you got.
I do.
All right, put your hand down, grab a seat. Please state your name for the record, spelling your first name and last name.
Lieutenant Joel Hooksema, JoelHoekesema.
Can the members of the jury see that okay? Would it help if we dim the lights at all, or?
Dimming the lights a little bit.
Dim the lights a little bit? Can we do that, Mr. Cleaver?
There, that's
Is that-
good.
And for those of you who are new to watching trials, you might wonder why there's a police officer sitting at the state's table. Now, typically, and not always, but typically, the lead investigator will sit with the prosecution. He is usually exempt from sequestration. Generally, when a witness is done, they still can't stay in and watch the case in case there, needs to be a retrial or other things. You don't want that witness tainted. So at the end of testimony, the lawyers, the defense has a right to say, I'd like them to stay under subpoena, meaning they have to go out of the courtroom. They can't watch anything. They can't interact with anyone or tell anyone about what happened in the trial. So But the lead investigator is generally and typically exempted from this. He sits with the state. If you've seen the Darrell Brooks trial, he was the detective that they brought up several times to explain the bulk of the information. Typically, what happens is there will be sort of foundational witnesses, witnesses that will say, I picked up item X from the scene. I handed over to the lab. They did whatever. And then you'll have disparate, short, very short witnesses just to kind of establish the chain of command and make sure that everything was done procedurally correctly. And in reverence to any statutes, but the lead investigator kind of takes the whole case holistically, all of it, and kind of puts it together. So that's a little lesson. Again, take it with a little grain of salt, but I've just noticed these things when I was watching trials.
Better? Yeah. Okay. All right, go ahead, Mr. Roberts.
Technology is actually working.
It's a Christmas miracle.
Sir, could you state your occupation for the record, please?
I'm a patrol lieutenant with the City of Norton Shores Police Department.
He was sworn in, right?
Yes, he was. I want to make sure, can you see it at the exhibit on?
Yes, yep, it's
Okay.
working, thank you.
You're welcome.
Lieutenant, I want to direct your attention back to July 6th of 2022. Were you working in your capacity at that time as a detective sergeant for the City of Norton Shores Police Department?
I was.
And as detective sergeant, were you essentially the officer or the detective in charge of this investigation?
I was.
Your role as detective sergeant, is that the head of the
Have a
other
wonderful day,
detectives,
Heidel.
assigned to the Norton Shores Police Department?
Correct.
And since that time, you've been promoted actually to the rank of lieutenant, is that correct?
That's correct.
So again, working back to July 6th of 2022, did you become involved in the investigation into the events that had taken place at 4788 Marshall Road in the City of Norton Shores, County of Muskegon, State of Michigan?
I did.
And did you actually go to that location?
I did.
All right, we're going to go through some photographs for the jury. For the record, these have already been stipulated to as People's Exhibits 1 through 32. They're sequential. The physical copies for the jury have the exhibit numbers on them. We'll go through them one by one for the officer so the jury can see them on the monitors. So, we're looking here at what is going to be People's Exhibit number 1. I'm going to lose count at.
And to go full Blanche from Golden Girls, some eye candy for the ladies. Now I'm taken but not blind, and I'm always okay, in a tangent story, because sometimes I have to stop thinking about Shanda because now somewhere, and I will give y'all a PSA for free in this Petty Express. Never listen to your wife if she wants to, or at least me, if I want you to get a haircut when I'm pregnant. Now, for some reason, in the depths of hormonal craziness that was my 5th pregnancy, I decided that my husband, Mr. Mo, would look fabulous with a bald head. Now, I did not know that my husband has the most divotty head this side of a golf ball. Not to mention, some men can pull off the, bald look. My husband looked like he needed a Make-A-Wish telethon. That being said, I still found him attractive because we had 6 kids. So I think he should stop whining about it, but it does get brought up on occasion, like always when he looks at pictures of himself. So that being said, your free piece of advice now is for pregnant women. Do not cut your hair off. Do not get a different style. You are in the grips of hormonal craziness. Your uterus is against you, and anything radical you do with your hair, you will hate and wonder why anyone allowed you. So do not do anything radical with your hair. Don't do anything radical with your husband's hair for the same reason. Hysterical hormones have hijacked your body. You have a little person in you who is, tackling and pummeling your bladder. You are not capable of making, good, sound, logical choices. Wait till you have said child and then change your look. You will need it. Wait till about 3 months, give yourself a new mommy makeover and do that. But from experience, do not try to perm your hair. Do not try to cut your hair. Do not try to do anything crazy with your hair, yours or your partner's. I'm just telling you, I've been there, done that 6 times, and it never ends in happiness. All right, off the tangent, back to the story that we're actually here for.
Some point with the exhibits, I know I will, but People's Exhibit 1, what are we looking at in that photograph, Lieutenant?
That is the home where the incident occurred.
And People's Exhibit 2,
That is looking at the front door of the home into the home.
and in that image you can see two sets of stairs, one going up, one going down. That's the bi-level nature of this home, is that correct?
Okay, this bothers me, and I'm going to move the closed captions, and this might be a petty thing, and it might be just a carelessness or I don't want to clean up thing. But by all, testimony, Shanda had a husband that had mobility issues. And as a person with mobility issues myself, the fact that the walkway is cluttered and there are trip hazards everywhere is very, very indicative of a person that doesn't really care about anyone else, especially when she would say that her husband would have to crawl between levels to get to their son. Now, I understand that this house hasn't, Adam wasn't living at the house at this point, but you would think it would be by now a force of habit if you met your husband and he already had mobility issues to not have things in their path. That being said, that bothers me. Again, it's something I wouldn't have noticed before I had mobility issues myself, but now it's really, really bothering me. But Shanda really bothers me, so I'm guess I'm liable to judge her, for dirt in anything.
That's correct.
And is it, when you arrived on that scene, did you go both to the upper and lower portions of that home?
Thank you.
I first went to the lower portion, then I did go to the upper portion.
Why did you go to the, it seems obvious, but why did you go to the lower portion first?
That's where the deceased was located.
But you did have occasion to observe both the upstairs and downstairs of that home, is that correct?
Correct.
And is that substantially, some of these photographs are taken on 2 different days, is that correct?
Correct.
Now, during the course of this, did you conduct 2 separate searches of that home pursuant to a search warrant?
Yes,
And is that the reason why we have photographs from 2 different days?
that's correct.
But you have had an opportunity to review all those photographs in preparation for trial today, and would you agree that those are a fair and accurate depiction of the home as it appeared to you on both July 6th and was the second search warrant on July 7th?
It was correct.
And that's the condition in which the home appeared at the time so that you were there on July 6th and July 7th?
Yes.
So People's Exhibit number 3, what are we looking at in that photograph?
That's the lower level of the home, what's been referred to as the common area, just a main room in the lower level where the deceased was located.
What in the name of hoarders? Now, I know I can't throw not a daggone stone because my house is messed the heck up right now. That being said, it's because my husband has had to demo my entire room and closet to make things easier for me to walk. So I don't have a place to put my clothes or any of my stuff right now. So our house looks like chaos. But this, again, as a person who has ADHD, who has, kind of anxiety that can affect the condition that they have, all of this clutter is an instant flare up, is an instant, kind of anxiety creator for those of us that, have ADHD, have things. This is driving me nuts right now. I would feel very anxious here. And she has a Dyson, an old one. I mean, again, this is nothing that an hour or 2 of just straightening and putting things away wouldn't fix. I don't get this. You had 2, now I say this and my kids don't pick up after themselves unless I yell like Samuel L. Jackson. I guess it just bothers me. Again, she tries to present this perfect, picture perfect, I'm a working mom, martyr syndrome, and her house looks like this. Again, this is simple stuff, taking out the trash, doing stuff like that. You can have clutter, but it doesn't have to be disgusting. Yeah, I mean, again, houses are for living in. We have, a basement that's kind of like the kids zone that we deep clean. And when I say we, I mean Mr. Mo now and the boys deep clean once every 6 months. We try to keep the mid-level, like our our guest level. Like we have a couple rooms that, you know, we're okay showing company. But again, just this is ridiculous. And here's the issue I have with this mainly. You have a son who has autism or high functioning autism, ADHD, and sensory issues. This is the perfect place for him to get in and take apart because he's got all of these things down here that he can fiddle with. You aren't getting him into school, you aren't doing anything else. So, in order to stimulate himself, yes, to get some mental stimulation, he's going to tear apart all of this stuff. It's a complete and acute lack of understanding of what Timothy needs and the environment that he would thrive in, and then punishing his behavior when he has an environment he can't thrive in, and the cycle continues. But she made sure, this is the other thing that really ticks me off. She made sure, absolutely, and fucking made sure that her mental health, her various and distinct and hypochondriacal, conditions were taken care of. She had a service dog for her hyperglycemia. She had, sensory issues that she made sure she took care of. But screw Timothy. Timothy had to deal with all of this up to her standards of behavior without any help, without any regard for how, withdrawing him from his medicine, withdrawing him from social interaction, and providing no, enrichment, no mental stimulation for him was going to cause behavioral issues. Shanda was really worried about herself, but couldn't give a rat's ass about Timothy and what he needed. And it's very glaringly obvious.
All right, and we can see a sheet here. I know you can't necessarily see what I'm pointing at with the laser pointer, but there's a sheet on the floor on the bottom left-hand portion of that photograph. Is that correct?
Yes.
Is that where the deceased was located when this photograph was taken?
Yes, he is under that sheet.
And what are we looking at in this photograph?
That is the same room, just a different angle. You can still see the deceased underneath that sheet, just showing the general appearance of the room.
And the sheet right here, that's the sheet covering the deceased, and is this after the home is searched, or is this the condition it was in when you first observed it?
That is the condition it was in when we first arrived.
And looking on the right side of that, there is what appears to be a bunk bed there, is that correct?
That is correct.
I think we have another photograph of that, but was it your understanding that was Timothy Ferguson's bed?
That is what we have been told, yes.
And what are we looking at in this image?
That is the upper bunk of that loft bed or bunk bed that we spoke of.
And that's, I believe that's another Norton Shores officer that we can see there with a mask on, and beyond that, there's what appears to be another room there, is that correct?
That is correct.
And it's the testimony's been thus far that there are two bedrooms, actually, there's the common area, a bathroom, and two bedrooms, and a small closet in the lower level, is that correct?
Yes,
And you observed both of those bedrooms?
I did.
And was it your understanding that those bedrooms belonged to one to Paul Ferguson and one to the minor child, G?
That's correct.
And so we're looking at the top bunk and looking towards one of those bedrooms, is that correct?
That is correct. That would be G's bedroom.
All right, and what are we looking at in this next photograph?
That is the upper level of the home, the kitchen.
And again, looking at this photograph, is this taken prior to any search actually taking place?
No, this was the scene of the home as
Oh, hell no.
we found it.
Oh, no, damn it, all to hell. Oh, what the hell have I done? This is terrible. Okay, I'm going back. We will find it. I am sorry.
Sure, the dispatch for you go into that address of County 6 of 2022.
I think it's...
His body still in the premises at that time?
Yes, it was.
Think about it.
Extremely messy. Bones protruding from his body. You can see his ribs through his skin.
And did you then observe did you take an opportunity to observe the rest of the residents?
I did, yes.
And so we've already had it described, Officer Stefanich as a
Same.
bi-level residence, and Timothy Ferguson's body located in the lower level of that residence. Did you have an occasion to observe the rest of the lower level at that time?
At some point during the day, I did observe the rest of the lower level. I don't know exactly where
Wait,
that falls
this
in
is the
line.
wrong officer. Sorry, you guys. I'm bald blind. I was just like, a bald guy. Oh, for the love of Cheetos. Good Lord. I pretend to be a professional on TV, y'all. That's all I'm gonna claim now. Now, this is the type of clutter that makes me now I don't know how many of you are parents, and I am going to tangent here, so sorry about that. It's not a great leg day, so I am a little squirrely. That being said, this is the kind of clutter that makes me lose my cool. Now, nice mommy asks my children when there is trash blatantly on the floor. Nice mommy will ask them about 5 times to pick it up. And then miffed mommy, like kind of ticked off mom will say, pick up this trash now. Now, unfortunately, I don't know what's wrong with my children. We have had their hearing tested, but they seem to only comprehend Samuel L. Jackson from Snakes on a Plane level of, irritated yelling to pick things up. And then they're like, why does mom always yell? She could just ask nicely. And I remind them that nice mommy asked them at least 15 times to pick up the doggone box off the doggone floor. I was like, you know the rule. If it's not, linoleum, hardwood, or carpet, it doesn't belong on the floor. So yeah, this is mess that would set Mo off. I'm just letting y'all know because there is nothing more lazy to me than having the trash can right there and not put the trash in. Like, yeah, this. I am getting actually angry at the way she keeps her house. Thank you, Kimmy. Kimmy, you are right. That being said, I did the same thing as a kid. I can remember, my thinking my mom always yelled and not remembering that she had, distinctly asked me nicely 15 times. So I do try to have, grace because they are kids, and I remember doing the exact same thing. Although it is weird when your mother takes control of your mouth and you hear her words, you channel your mother out of your like deepest soul, and you're like, ugh. That being said, sometimes moms just get tired of asking the same damn thing 150,000 times.
We'll get to it I believe it's in the next photograph anyway. Here, are we looking at another view of that photograph?
It is another view of that refrigerator.
And so that's a bottom freezer, so refrigerator where the refrigerator is on top and the freezer portion is on the bottom, is that correct?
Correct.
And there appears to be a lock on the bottom portion of that, or two locks there actually, but one lock with a front connection point on that freezer, is that correct?
That's correct.
These absolute criminal rejects, these two criminals that make Pinky and the Brain look like Alan Turing and Stephen Hawking's, they got the little like things you get at the grocery store so you don't take the booze. Also, Star Wars tells and it is apropos that you have a Darth Vader magnet. I mean, method acting. You are on the dark side of the Force, Shanda.
And is this the upper portion, the refrigerator portion?
Yes.
All right, and that also appears to be a lock as well with a keyhole, correct?
Yep. Correct.
And is that just a wider shot so you can see both the upper and lower portion?
Okay, you guys, riddle me this. Now, allegedly, she was training service dogs. She had her own greyhound, and service dogs are expensive. Believe me, I've looked into it. It's an investment of at least 35, a lot of money. Look, just a lot more money than I ever imagined. And to be fair, the trainers that work with these dogs put in a Herculean effort. There's a lot of work that goes into it. So I am not saying that they don't deserve that money. But to have a dog in this kind of environment, to have kids, again, I get having kids. I have 6. My house looks like a war zone, but we pick it up. I mean, and my house doesn't look the same since I got hurt. I can't do all the things, and my husband and kids try, but they don't do things the way I would prefer, but they do them. So I just don't understand the excuse, but I'm sure Shanda will explain.
That refrigerator.
That's correct.
There's a door slightly ajar there. Where does that door go to?
That's what's been referred to as the pantry.
And what are we looking at in this photograph?
Another view of the kitchen area. You can see the stairs leading down to the main entrance, as well as a chest freezer.
And there's next to the freezer, it appears to be a coat rack, is that right?
Yes.
And there's a large white tub there. Do you recall what was located in that tub?
I believe it was dog food.
So those are the stairs the stair rail we can see there. Those are the stairs that come up from the front door.
Yes.
And immediately then to your right, as you come up those stairs, is that door to the pantry, correct?
Correct.
Oh, I wasn't aware that Great Danes had a short lifespan. I was aware that larger dogs tend to have more issues. I don't think you can find rhyme nor reason in Shanda's choices for anything. It's what Shanda wanted, so Shanda got it. I don't know.
And what are we looking at in that image?
That's the chest freezer that we just had looked at with the lock on it, the black lock.
And what are we looking at in this image?
There's a photograph of the inside of the refrigerator and portions of the freezer.
And by all accounts, it looks like there's quite a healthy amount of food contained in that portion of the refrigerator. Would that be fair to say?
Absolutely.
Condiments on the door, milk on the door, other items, pickles, more mayonnaise, lots of items inside that refrigerator.
Very well stocked.
And is that the freezer drawer portion?
That is the freezer.
And you can see pizza rolls, some type of frozen mac and cheese, a couple of boxes of frozen mac and cheese, and some type of packaged meat, as well as other items in that freezer, correct?
Yes, many options.
And what are we looking at in this?
That's the
photograph?
inside of the chest freezer, showing all the food available in there.
So there's some frozen chicken, there's some desserts in there, there's some bread, all
Yes.
visible in that image.
Correct.
And again, this and the refrigerator and the freezer all had locks on them, correct?
Correct.
And what are we looking at in this image?
Oh, this is the fabulous pantry that he's allowed to touch. So, and honest to goodness, I mean, no shame for great value, but for someone who's got, hyper vigilance and PTSD and all of this, do you know what most therapists will tell you is that a clean, calming, and uncluttered environment will help you, center and relax if you're having issues. Now, not that I follow that all the time. I mean, once I'm doing crafting or into a zone for something, I won't notice where I put things. All of my chaos has, a rhyme or reason. But at the end of that period, I am really diligently trying to put things away because having a calm and decluttered area is best for me. But I don't want to help Shanda. I hope she's living in a pigsty.
That's that closet pantry door that was just to the right of the refrigerator near the stairs, and the inside of the pantry area.
And again, there's more food items in there. There's canned soup, cereal, multiple items inside that location. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, I think we're back downstairs now. So can you tell the jury what we're looking at in this image?
This is the first search warrant at the home. To the right of the screen, you can see the bunk bed that was designated as the deceased bunk bed, and then the small room door, the closet under the stairs.
And at the very top right portion of that door, can you describe for the jury what we're looking at there?
On the top right of the door is an alarm, which appeared to me to be activated whenever that door would be opened.
We have a close-up of that in the next image. That's the alarm sensor?
Correct. You can see the one sensor part on the door jam and the other sensor part on the door. So when the door is opened, it would trigger.
Now, let's talk for just a moment, because you referenced it just a moment ago. You said that these photographs, specifically, these two exhibits were taken during the execution of the first search warrant at the home. Is that correct?
Correct.
So that was the search warrant that was executed on July 6th, correct?
That is correct.
That's the date that Timothy Ferguson's body was located in the home.
Correct.
And following the conclusion of the execution of the search warrant and all the interviews that were taking place, was Ms. Vander Ark placed in custody at that point in time?
She was not.
Was she free to remain in the home the night of July 6th leading into July 7th?
She was.
And what are we looking at in this next photograph?
That is the inside of the small room.
And you refer to it as a small room. Is that, throughout the course of this investigation, did you come to recognize that as being referred to as the small room by Ms. Vander Ark as well as Paul Ferguson?
That is correct.
And there's a tarp in there and a box in there. Was anything else located in this room?
That was it, just the tarp and that box.
And what was the overall physical condition of that room based on your observations at the time that you were there?
When we opened the door to that room, there was an overpowering odor of urine. Very offensive smell coming from that room.
And is this just another view of that looking down at the tarp that you had referred to?
Correct.
And what are we looking at with this image here?
That is a view from the inside of the door for the small room. The door is open, and that is what would be on the inside of the room.
And it appears that there's a crack in the door, is that correct?
It does.
This next image is that the other side of that door?
Correct. That would be the opposite side of the door, also noting the damage to the door, the crack.
Now this next photograph appears to be the same area.
Surprise Pikachu face. Dum Dum Shanda. I mean, for a smart person, you're really stupid. You think they didn't take pictures? This isn't Canton. There are no red solo cups. You hurt a child. I don't know how much more I need to explain to you, monster parents, guardians, and people that hurt children. There is nothing in the world that motivates people to hold on for dear life, to go through hell to find and bring justice than a innocent that is taken from this world, especially a child. So again, I told Steven Stearns, I'm gonna tell you, Shanda, you tried to snuff out Timothy's light. You treated him like less than the dogs you train. The child you birthed, you put in a room that stank of his waste. You tried to snuff out Timothy's light, but because of his story, because of what you did, hundreds, thousands, people across the world remember him. And his light will shine on. His light sparked a million. You tried to snuff it out, but all you did was put yourself away like the monster you are. So congratulations. Bon voyage, drop the soap, although I don't know how it works in women prison, and I didn't watch Orange is the New Black. I was still watching Big Bang Theory, so, not quite sure, but drop the soap, don't. It's a personal choice.
That appears in the earlier exhibit, is that correct?
Yes.
But what's different, it's obvious, but what's different about this photograph than the earlier photograph?
The alarm for the door is missing.
And when was this photograph taken?
This photograph was taken on the July the 7th when we executed the second search warrant, the next day.
So this was taken after Ms. Vander Ark was allowed to remain in the home the night after the execution of the first search warrant, correct?
That's correct.
And when you go back for the search warrant on the second day, the alarm that you had previously observed has been removed from the door.
That is correct.
And you photographed it for that reason.
Yes, I recognized that it was missing, so I photographed it.
And then working backwards, is this that same door, but just showing it without the alarm and on the second day when you went back?
That is correct.
And what are we looking at in this image?
That is a view of the bathroom on the lower level.
Specifically on that countertop there, on the bathroom counter, there appears to be some type of camera. Is that right?
Yes, there is.
And you've heard Officer Steffanich's testimony earlier today about a camera that appeared to be motion activated or following when he was in the bathroom. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Is that camera?
That is.
Okay, there is no excuse for this. Not one whatsoever. The used adult diapers just hanging out by the trash can. Now, I have had, again, 6 children I got a diaper genie, or these little bags that smell like powder, and you tie them up immediately and put them in the trash and either take out the trash. But there's no excuse. I've had 6 children. Never in my life did I leave a bunch of diapers down. And that held true when I was poor, in my first marriage, when I was, a single mom, with 3 little girls, to when I, grew my family with my husband. There is no excuse for that. That is the height of growth, of just grody-ness to me. Like, ugh.
And what are we looking at there?
I had
Oh, they
stepped further into
cleaned.
the bathroom and took that photograph, so the vanity to the left side, looking into the toilet shower area.
And Officer Stefnich noted, and you can see in that photograph, is there a shower curtain on that shower?
There is no shower curtain.
And the camera is just off to the, now in this image, it's just off to the, on the left side of the screen, is that correct?
That's correct.
But if it's motion activated, it stands to reason that a person in the shower or on the toilet, that camera could turn to track their movements in the bath and or on the toilet.
It'd certainly be in view of it, yes.
And what image are we looking at here?
This is the vanity within that lower level bathroom that we had previously looked at.
Now, if you look back, the camera is no longer in that, in the second image. Was the camera taken as part of the search warrant?
It was.
And so now we're looking down at the vanity, and what, if anything, did you note in terms of the investigation here in that photograph?
Unusual items for a bathroom vanity, such as a bottle of hot sauce and a bag of zip ties.
And the hot sauce is right here, and the zip tie is right here. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Just keep moving for just a little bit. And what are we looking at in this photograph?
That's a close-up of the bottle of hot sauce.
Extreme Regret, Scorpion, Carolina Reaper hot sauce?
That's correct. Screaming hot.
So again, she went online. Her priorities were punishing Timothy. And it is evident, regardless of what she says, she prioritized money monetarily. She went out of her way, even though she will state that she was struggling financially and not being able to pay all her bills. She got motion cameras. She got alarms. She got, freezer locks, refrigerator locks, everything. This woman was invested. This was like her fantasy football. In my opinion, y'all can think what you want. I'm not your mama and I'm not paying your bills. So think what you want. Now, I already told you guys why I think this hot sauce was in there, but it's also important to remember that with that camera in there, she watched that final day of his when he was in the ice bath for 8 hours. She watched and she made sure that Paul, poked him, had him move, had him uncomfortable. Again, wrap your mind around that. He has no ability to protect himself from the freezing temperatures. Allegedly, she thought about putting hot sauce on his private area, and she was making sure that Paul had him in odd positions so he couldn't relax. Yes, Lottie Pie, it wasn't enough to starve him, but she had to torture him with hot sauce. Tammy Fayette, it really is never explained to a logical conclusion, because what Shanda will say is that even when she got pregnant with him, she was really craving spicy food, and that Timothy really liked spicy food, but it makes no logical sense. And the state will point out that, again, it is a logical kind of miscalculation or weirdness. Because if he likes hot sauce, how is feeding him only hot sauce a punishment? Now, this hot sauce, I do believe, is one of it's a Runkle hot sauce, okay? I can barely handle mild. I am very, out loud and proud with my spice, inability to handle. But this is a torturous hot. Kimmy, she did have other children, so a little bit of a too long didn't read. Shanda Vander Ark was in Oklahoma, where she had 5 children with her first husband. Now, I haven't delved incredibly deeply into that case, and since it involved family services, there isn't a lot out there. But somehow or another, Shanda was bad enough that she had to basically terminate parental rights on the 5 children that she left in Oklahoma, to include Paul Ferguson and Timothy Ferguson for this particular short story. Paul moved in with his mother in Michigan with her new husband a bit before Timothy did. Shanda's ex called and said Timothy was out of control. He couldn't handle him, and either she needed to take him in direct violation of court orders, or he was going to send him to foster care. He just couldn't handle it. Now, Timothy was a young boy. He did have very high functioning autism, according to his mother. He had sensory perception issues, ADHD, and some other different things that go along with having, a special kind of neurodivergent way of looking at the world. Now, he was on medications and allegedly went to see the doctor when he was in the father's care. Again, not much is known about the father. When Timothy, again, in direct violation of the, custody termination, came to live with Shanda, basically, because she wasn't allowed to have him, there was really nothing. She couldn't take him to the doctor. She didn't take him to go to school. She did sign him up allegedly on a homeschool sort of electronic, school basis. But, and everything seemed to be going fairly normal, until her current husband had a stroke. Then things and moved out of the house because he needed more care. In fact, he really couldn't navigate the house prior to the stroke, having had a disability that had him in a wheelchair, and they bought a bi-level. Now, I'm not judging there because it is hard to find a ranch house that has enough space for the things that you need. So again, not judging there. It's hard to find a handy-capable house that isn't going to break the bank. Now, that being said, after Adam had the stroke, Shanda seemed to revel in inventing punishments for Timothy, withholding food, claiming he was getting into things. Again, she did not provide him any sort of stimulation. And for a woman who deeply researched how to, have the best outcome with all of the things she deals with, uh, for her to be so ignorant as to not understand that, yes, Timothy had a fascination, a preoccupation sort of um, with taking things apart and putting things back together. So according to her, he, blew out the pilot light on their water heater. So he had to have a cold bath. He would sneak food, allegedly, and she would make him eat only bread with hot sauce. And if he was able to keep that down for, 30 minutes without any water or anything to wash down the taste, he was allowed to have 2 more pieces of bread. He would get into the freezer and eat frozen food because he knew he didn't have time to cook this food before Shanda would get or get angry at him. Now, there is a sort of process in the brain that when you are starving, when you are hungry beyond hungry, there is sort of a chemical change that happens where you will find things that normal you found disgusting, let's say a moldy piece of bread, frozen chicken nuggets. You no longer care about the taste. You are only eating it. And there is sort of a part of the hippocampus. Look, I'm not a doctorologist, but I listen to doctorologists um, that will sort of relax, and you will find things palatable because you are hungry that you never did. So the fact that he was willing and able to eat frozen chicken nuggets, according to Shanda, and, ground beef that was raw, things that would give me the ickies, he ate them quickly because he knew he didn't have time to eat. So this went on for several months, with the punishments getting more creative, with the surveillance of Timothy's every move, with zip ties, with leg shackles, with putting him in a closet with just a tarp. This went on for months until the point that poor Timothy's heart, his body, just gave up after being in an ice bath, after being severely malnourished to the point that he was only 69 pounds at the age of 15. His heart gave up. So this is a horrible story. I tend to do horrible stories on the Petty Express so I can stop, give you guys information, and roast the ever-living shit out of Shanda. I like taking down monsters, especially monsters who think they're smarter than me and better and try to get out of the justice they so richly deserve.
Spring hot, yeah. And was this taken into evidence?
It was.
And what are we looking at in this next image?
Those would be the leg shackles that were found in the lower level of the home.
This is probably a good time. You brought some other physical exhibits with you. If we could go ahead and just have those marked at this point, and I'll let you know what to mark.
From your mouth to God's ears. Actually, vote for Mo 2028. My tagline is going to be, we ain't in Geneva. So, I say cruel and unusual is subjective, and putting prisoners in ISO cubes where chat can deliver glitter bombs and, insults all day. I say we would fix the national debt in about 5 minutes. Hell, I'd probably, fix at least 10% buying glitter bombs for people. I don't know. I think we should float it out. That or a real live Hunger Games. We send them all to, Greenland. We send us, supplies randomly, and they just have to do for themselves. I'm tired of us taxpayers having to deal with this, but I'm in a mood today. So to be honest, I might be more table flipping Jesus than normal.
What items would you like out?
Let's start with the hot sauce.
Bathroom hot sauce?
Well, there's it's my understanding you have two types of hot sauce there, is that correct?
Yeah, one that was located in the bathroom, one that was located on the kitchen floor.
We'll go ahead and mark that first hot sauce, the bathroom one, number 38.
Would you like these removed from the bags?
I think the jury can see, at least with the hot sauce one, I think we can leave that one as is. So we'll mark that one as number 38. And this is, for the record, this is the hot sauce that was removed from the bathroom vent.
Correct.
Permission to publish to the jury, Judge? Yes. These have been admitted
By stipulation. Yeah.
Okay, now this next item are shackles. We'll go ahead and mark those as number 41. Are these the shackles that we can see in that photograph there?
That is correct.
Deviants, so I will give you these straight facts and then I'll give you my speculation. The hot sauce in the restroom. Now, Shanda and Paul, kind of her strong arm muscle in this torture, would text back and forth copiously. Now, there was one text on the final day of Timothy's life, somewhere in the 8 hours that he was in the bathtub. And Shanda floated the idea that it would be extremely uncomfortable if some of this extremely hot sauce landed on his private parts. So just again, look at this from 50,000 feet. You have a woman who is videotaping her 15-year-old son nude in the bathtub and suggesting for a punishment to make him more uncomfortable, again, to increase the pain. She floats out, what if you put some hot sauce on his private parts? Now, that is the only thing that is proven, that they floated this out. Now, my conjecture, my speculation, and I will get a speculation hat, a conductress speculation hat. that she did this, that this did indeed happen. Now, again, I don't have any proof. There weren't any facts in the trial, but my assessment of Shanda's personality and the way she just went whole hog into her sadistic mindset with her child, there is not a punishment she didn't do. There was no limit to what she would do. So I speculate it happened. But again, warning, warning. This is, you know, speculation from Mo. This is not anything that's facts and evidence, but I have seen nothing in her character, in her demeanor, in the way she has interacted, in the evidence that I've seen, that there was ever a limiting or, questioning of what they were doing to him. So I think it happened.
And maybe this is a clumsy way to ask the question, but what type of shackles are those? What are we talking about in terms of material?
They are metal shackles, appear to be of the same quality and type that we would use in our employment as police officers.
And does the handcuff key that you would typically carry open these shackles?
Yes.
Keep that with the envelope.
Now, to forestall Shanda's clumsy attempt to say that those were either hauls for a Lego TikTok, or that they were for smexy times with her husband or smexy times with someone. As a person whose Kindle needs Jesus, I can tell you that the handcuffs, and not from personal experience, but from reading, allegedly in Minecraft, y'all can't prove nothing. I have 6 kids. I don't have time to do a whole long daggone thing. Not at all. No. I do wish I did, but that's a whole nother story. Now, that being said, the cuffs that you use in smexy, couple fun time are generally leather and padded and don't leave marks because, the point is not to really hurt you. And again, my Kindle needs Jesus, so go ahead and pray for me, but I'm not going to stop reading my books.
All right, what else do we have?
Cameras. Hot sauce.
This is the second bottle of hot sauce that you recovered from the residence?
Correct. This is the hot sauce that was located on the floor of the kitchen.
Oh, not near the mic, sir. ASMR, court style.
Same type of hot sauce, this one located in the kitchen area, is that correct?
That's correct.
All right, we'll have this one marked and previously admitted as People's 39, Judge.
Oh, God. Dear Lord, between the pictures of her dirty house making me anxious and the crinkle bags, I'm about to lose it. I love that my anxiety is triggered by other people's dirty houses, which, honest to God, is weird because I watch hoarders to feel better about myself sometimes. Look, I'm just aiming for purgatory. Let's get back to the bag crinkling.
The zip ties are People's Exhibit number 40.
He looks like he's waiting for the principal, and my pause game is awesome. That is the look most commonly seen at as the youngest most feral has done something wrong, and he is looking for anyone to blame. If you have a youngest most feral child, you know this look well. Good point. Oh my gosh, you're right. Hey, sweetheart. Again, we've talked about this before, but as you are a thunder cow, you might not want to chew gum and perpetuate the stereotype. Also, you know, the Land O'Lakes butter look is not your friend. Also, the East German vibes are just there. Yeah, this is normal time. Maybe don't chew gum like you have a crystal problem.
I can have Mr. Weaver collect those if you want to continue. I don't
There's two more. I believe it's the second hot sauce and the zip ties making their way around. So
I don't want to hold you up on questioning, so.
I wanted everybody to have an opportunity to look at them before we moved on anyway, such so.
I do like that they're allowing the jurors to, look at the hot sauce bottles, read the labels, feel the shackles. I really haven't seen that done in a lot of trials. But like I said, I was very impressed with how the state presented this case, how the judge handled this case. Yeah, again, do not look like you were a female guard at Ravensbrück, okay? Again, a WW2 reference, but you might not want to look like Ava Braun, all right? Just throwing that out there for you and Amber Heard. You might not want to look like, Mrs. Trunchbull from Matilda. Oh, see, when he got up, I called him Urkel that had a rough time. He does kind of remind me of Steve Urkel. It's not appropriate, it's disrespectful, and as someone who was working on, I think, their, appellate attorney look, I know she passed the bar, but I don't know what other steps. She was clerking for a judge, so I believe she wanted to get into appellate law. She should know that this is absolutely not appropriate for court.
To, I think, observe all of those there. Do you need just a moment to put those back in the bag? People's Exhibits 38, hot sauce. Exhibit 40 was the zip ties, and Exhibit 41 was the leg shackles.
Oh, for
all
the love of
previously admitted by
paper bags.
Moving on with our exhibits here and photographs, what are we looking at in this photograph?
So that is still in that large common room in the basement of the home, or the lower level of the home, kind of a knee wall there, and you can see a camera sitting on top of a software box, it appears.
And was that projecting out to some area in the
Yeah,
common area?
that specific camera was looking at the area of Timothy's bunk bed and the door to the small room.
And this next image?
Those are some keys that were found in the home.
And there's a number of remote controls attached to those. What do those appear to be?
It is my understanding that those remote controls could activate the sensor alarms that were on the doors.
And this next image?
That's an ice maker that was in the kitchen countertop.
Shanda, from the world's worst Christian, screw you for having a trite, scripture on your wall. Having a scripture on your wall doesn't make you Christian. Obviously didn't help you make better choices, and not choose the dark side. So I kind of feel like you should never be allowed to have, again, the juxtaposition of holiness with this monster. Jesus would like to be kindly RSVP'd no to this house and this woman.
And the next image there.
Same ice maker, just full of ice.
Now, Lieutenant, at some point, there were some cell phones seized from the residence, is that correct?
That is correct.
Including a cell phone belonging to Ms. Vander Ark.
That is correct.
And did you have an opportunity, as part of the investigation, did the Norton Shores Police Department perform an extraction of that cell phone?
Yes.
And it seems obvious, but what is the purpose of extracting information from that cell phone?
Often cell phones can contain evidence of the crime that we're investigating.
Your Honor, for this next portion, we've discussed already that Lieutenant Hooksma and Detective Ong will be reading a portion of the text messages. So I think we're prepared to do that at this point in time.
Okay, you guys, I did promise my kiddos that I would stop at around 1, and we need to kind of set up the text messages. Now, in exciting news, alternate juror, I used to speak English. Alternate juror is going to join me tomorrow on the Petty Express, and we will start listening to these text messages. It's not a terribly long trial, which is good. And again, I picked this trial because Shanda just made a bid to get a new trial. Now, that was denied based on her competency, but it does look like her appellate attorney is firing up another sort of salvo, another sort of strategy. Now, that being said, the strategy, you guys, if you just are joining, the strategy in this new motion to get her acquitted. Yes, that's right. She is innocent, y'all. Now, whatever you're thinking in your head, no, it's dumber. It's dumber than the dumbest thing you have ever thought of. Now, according to her appellate attorney, again, on the hearing video that I did, the live stream, you can go replay it if you'd like. Shameless self-promotion. I take Baker's Grifting Grifty School. That being said, the next gambit, and I kid you not, because y'all are my favorite turds, the ME listed, and I quote, dehydration first on the death certificate. So dehydration was the primary cause of death. And Shanda never, restricted water. So she is innocent. You guys, the look on my face, I could not comprehend the absolute stupidity, both in optics, in everyone hating you, and this is never going to work, being my first 3 ideas. But yeah, that is what I am expecting next for Shanda. She does have the ability to, and the knowledge to, use the legal system. But if that is the next gambit, I doubt that it's going to get any more serious consideration than her first one. But we shall keep an eye and make sure this heifer stays in jail. Thank you guys for joining me on this ride on the Petty Express. I am going to go see who I can send you guys over to, since I am going to be working on a very special video. Baker, you're live and you're in my chat too. I am sending you over to Baker. And I hope you guys have a great day. I know that this is a hard trial. Any trial with kids are, as much as we use dark humor or, tangents to get away from it. Hug your children. Hug the children that you are related to, that you have permission to hug. And appreciate the people in your life. Because for all of the Darkness's work, for all of the Kobergers and Vanderarks and Boons out there are so many people out there that are horrified by these cases and motivated to make the world a better place, even if that's, just giving people compliments and being kind and spreading kindness. So have a wonderful day, but remember, be kind to yourself, be kind to others, but have a sassy mouth and carry a can of bitch fire, because kindness doesn't equal doormat. I will see you guys later, and I am going to go work on that video for you guys. See you later.